reach. That spell isn't ready yet. I can't cast out yet. God still is out there. That's still not yet. That's still not I'm out of range. That's still not That's still recharging. That's not yet. That spell isn't over yet.
Strength and honor. So. What do you need? May your blades...
researching and collecting parts for like a year and a half. It's time to install the in-floor heating.
That's still recharging. I need to target something first. Not yet. That's That's still recharging. I need to get closer. That spell isn't ready yet. I can't use that yet. That's still recharging. That's that yet. recharging. That spell isn't ready yet. I don't have a target. That's still recharging. That spell isn't ready yet. That's still recharging. I can't cast that yet.
Thrall hard. Go. Thrall hard. Listen. Raw. Speak. Power. Loktar. What do you need?
Strength and honor.
What can I help you with?
Eating in our We finished up 16 valves. Those are gonna be for the zone that is the whole shop. So we've got 8 coming in, 8 coming out, hence why we have 16. We've still got 2 more to do. That's gonna be for the other zone, which is the seed room. We're learning a lot. This is our first time soldering. I feel like with anything, it's about preparation and starting with a good product. So we're making sure that our valves are clean. We're using a brush. It's like a little wire one that's meant for these certain size. And we're reaming it out on the inside. We're getting it really clean. And then the fitting that's going in there, we're using something called plumber's tape, I believe, and it's basically just sandpaper, and we're sanding down the little fitting until it's a shiny copper color. We're using flux, and the flux is something that you have to use to get the solder to work correctly. So we're using a little brush, we're putting it on the inside where it's gonna go, and then we're also putting it on the fitting itself. As far as the valve being opened or closed while you're soldering, I've heard people do it both ways, and then I've heard people say that they say on there which way you're supposed to do it. These don't say, so I'm just doing it in the open position. That way I don't burn the handle, kind of like I did on our first one. The next step is just getting it nice and hot. And since we're soldering a ball valve to a fitting, we're trying to get the flame right where this ball valve meets the fitting. We don't want to do it any further back. There's like a rubber gasket in there that apparently you can melt if you get it too hot. And the soldering part, it's actually pretty easy. I'll just take the little piece of solder wire and I'll keep touching it on there. And as soon as it's hot enough, it's the coolest thing. It like sucks the solder up into the joint, and I guess that uses the flux. Wherever you have the flux, it's gonna pull it up in there, and that's your joint. And then when it's done, you wait a few seconds and you take a rag and you can kind of wipe off the extra flux, or if you get a little bit of a drip like I'm getting with the solder, you can kind of get that off, and we're getting some pretty clean looking joints here. A few things we learned here. I put in this little valve. This is the 1/2-inch valve that's going where the, I don't think it's a valve, maybe it's a fitting. This is where the PEC's gonna connect. And I had it on there and I soldered it and I reached for the rag right away and I went to clean it. And apparently you gotta wait a few seconds for this solder to, I guess, come down in temperature and get hard, because this sucker just popped right out. Luckily, going in this project, I knew I was gonna make some mistakes. I've got a few extra parts. We should still have enough to get this complete. About halfway through, our propane torch stopped working. So this is the one we use. This one's, it's old, maybe like 6 years old. And I think what happened was it's meant for propane. We ended up getting this one, which is meant for MAP gas, which apparently burns hotter than propane, and it works a little bit better when you're doing sweating on like large diameter copper pipe. So I think this might have failed because of that. Maybe not, maybe it just got old, but we've got this new one, and check this out. The flame on this thing is just insane. It lights up. I've been running it a little lower, kind of like that, but it's taking literally half the time to warm up these joints. It's going a lot quicker now than this old one did here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna be able to get this one to work, but I'm gonna hold on to it for now. We've got 2 more to do, that's it. This has been a pretty time-consuming thing, soldering. It's one of those skills that I'm glad I learned. It's actually kind of fun to do. I'm gonna get these 2 done, and then we'll start working on connecting them all to the manifold. That torch, it's MAP gas, it's extremely hot. I've got this little tiny mat here, and it's for soldering, and I didn't know if it was gonna work very well. It actually works really well. So I just stapled it in place with 1 staple, and we're just gonna move this along as we do our solder. We're gonna do them on the bottom of these pumps that we're going on it. It has gotten to the point where we're gonna hook our PECs up. We've been dealing with this PECs just being in here all over the place. This actually looks pretty good right now. I trimmed a bunch off.
Leave some room for the slant.
Also kind of lucky enough that we were in a position where we could disconnect the pumps and we could pull this piece off. So we heated it, pulled it off, cleaned it up real good, soldered it. I mean, that one's definitely not leaking. We're just gonna leave the PSI in there for a while. Make sure in there that
Amazing.
that is it has a little auto start this until it's liquid all the way through the system. It's gonna take a while to get all the way through the system. We're gonna have to fill this up again.
Yeah, you're supposed to do. Can you use the one with
Most of the time we'll use the coal stove when we want to. And for now we're going to be making sure there's no leaks, which there's none so far. And we're kind of starting with square one from this slab. So it's cold out. I think it's close to 0 today. The next few days it's supposed to get down to around 30 below 0. The slab is extremely cold. We're going to have to heat this up. I think it's going to take a little while with this hot water running through the floor. We're going to keep you guys posted on future videos of how this system works, how it's working for us, and if we run into any problems. So far, this is awesome.
Aren't you excited?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think. Oh yeah, that's getting hot now. So our temperature coming back is still cold, 60.
Well, because it's in the floor.
Toilet's kicking on again. It's like we
Right.
need more water.
So it's just going through the...
140. I don't know what's going on.
Bring me over to my place. You don't know.
Using straps like this can be a great way to front squat, especially if you have very poor.
In the waning days of World War II, the United States government decided to conclusively and decisively end the war with Japan with a hitherto unbelievably powerful weapon, the atomic bomb. In the August of 1945, a 15-kiloton nuclear warhead was dropped in the Japanese city of Hiroshima, where I'm standing right now. Hiroshima remains one of the only two locations on Earth where people witnessed firsthand the awesome and terrible power of an atom split for offensive purposes. But unlike other cities that have had brushes with nuclear disasters like Pripyat in Ukraine and Fukushima here in Japan, Hiroshima is not abandoned. Far from it. As you can see, the city is flourishing. Why? The answer has as much to do with history as it does physics. This is the true story of how Hiroshima survived the atomic bomb. Millions of mostly young men had already died in the meat grinders of World War II's battlefronts when, in 1945, the United States decided that a few 100,000 more lives would be the final nail in so many coffins. To avoid a ground invasion of Japan, something the Japanese people had already proven would be a tooth-and-nail battle for every square inch of island, then President Harry S. Truman made the impossible decision to, in what would last only milliseconds, forever separate history into two eras: the time before atomic weapons and the time after. Just 3 weeks after the first successful nuclear detonation, the Trinity test, US scientists had decided that Hiroshima, Japan was a city suitable for the shock to leadership that was needed to finally knock an already reeling Japan out of the war. The city was an army depot at the time, surrounded by hills that would provide a focusing effect for what was the most funded and secretive government project in US history. There would be no leaflets dropped this time, no demonstration bomb, no warning shot. The strike was ordered. The bombs that would be dropped? Special. On August 6, 1945, the B-29 bomber the Enola Gay had made its top-secret trip across the Pacific Ocean and was approaching Hiroshima from 10 kilometers above. 17 seconds past 8:15 a.m., the bomb, designated Little Boy, dropped silently into clear sky. For almost a minute, nothing happened. The airmen in the Enola Gay feared their mission was a dud. But 44.4 seconds after release, the bomber's cabin filled with a blinding white light. A fireball with the same surface temperature as the sun had expanded to wider than the Eiffel Tower is tall in less than a second, 580 meters above the Shima Surgical Clinic far below them. The intended target was this bridge, approximately 240 meters away from the hospital, but given the apocalypse that followed, the miss didn't matter. The Enola Gay was already 16 kilometers away when it was rattled by shockwaves. It reportedly felt like being under heavy fire. The crew, most of whom didn't know exactly what they were dropping, was reportedly speechless. It's now something of a legend that Enola's co-pilot Captain Robert A. Lewis broke the silence with, "My God, what have we done?" But co-pilot Colonel Paul W. Tippett remembers it differently. "Fellows," Tippett announced over the intercom, "you have just dropped the first atomic bomb in history."
A short time ago, an American airplane dropped one bomb on Hiroshima and destroyed its usefulness to the enemy. That bomb has more power than 20,000 tons of TNT. The Japanese began the war from the air at Pearl Harbor. They have been repaid many-fold, and the end is not yet. With this bomb, we have now added a new and revolutionary increase in destruction.
Hard numbers on the number of people that died as the result of the Hiroshima bombing have been revised and revised again for decades. It's hard to get accurate body counts when thousands of bodies were literally turned into vapor. But it's generally estimated that in less time than it took the Enola Gay to fly to Japan and back, some 70 to 80,000 people had died, 30% of Hiroshima's population. 70% of the buildings were rubble, or char, or both. The total number of deaths would increase over the next 20 to 30 days to between 90 and 140,000 people, as the 70,000 injured succumbed to bodily damage exacerbated by acute radiation syndrome. Unsurprisingly, the few doctors that were left, 80% had died in the blast, had no idea what acute radiation syndrome was. It had never happened before, and therefore they could not effectively treat it. This crisis was compounded by the fact that the average radiation dose that would kill approximately 50% of adults, the LD50, was halved for the initial survivors, as radiation injuries stress the same immunological systems that are stretched thin by extensive blast injuries and deep body burns. What you're seeing now are the images that I can safely show on this platform, and in curating them, I may be giving you a false sense of the damage. To be clear, the full reality is much, much worse than what you are seeing here. If you do seek out images of the aftermath, of the bodies featureless after being flash black with otherworldly heat, they will shock you, as they arguably should. For all the destruction it caused, the Little Boy bomb was terribly inefficient. Of the bomb's 64 kilograms of uranium, less than 1 kilogram underwent fission. This figure made what happened even more terrifying. Every joule of energy that devastated Hiroshima, a fireball so hot it etched negatives of people into concrete, a blast wave so intense it shattered windows 200 kilometers away, came from less than a gram of matter converted directly into energy. An entire city, obliterated by the weight of a butterfly. Today's nuclear weapons are thousands of times more powerful. There are 4 ways to offensively detonate a nuclear bomb. What distinguishes them is altitude. Above 100,000 feet, a nuclear detonation is considered a high-altitude burst, which produces a much larger fireball and more electromagnetic effects owing to the lack of a dense atmosphere. Below 100,000 feet is an airburst, where thermal energy and blast makes it to the ground. A surface burst fireball touches the ground, and a subsurface burst explodes underground or underwater. Each type of burst has its own tactical considerations. A high-altitude burst might take out enemy communications. An airburst blast wave rebounds off the ground and deals major thermal and blast damage to exposed enemy forces and structures. Surface and subsurface bursts create the most amount of fallout and can destroy hard and/or buried targets. The burst that leveled Hiroshima in 1945 began half a kilometer above the city. The reflected blast wave and thermal radiation was more than enough to create the shock to leadership the American government wanted. Crucially, however, the fireball did not touch the ground. It was an airburst, so there was not a vast amount of dirt and vaporized debris for radioactive particles and fission products to attach to and fall out of the sky with as they got heavier. By the time the fission products in the cloud at Hiroshima got cool enough to fall out, they had already decayed enough and become diffuse enough to pose no long-term radiological danger to downwind populations. The radiation damage done to Hiroshima's residents occurred over around 60 seconds, and the majority of the residual radiation from the bomb was emitted in 24 hours. It follows from the physics, then, that Hiroshima and Nagasaki, another airburst, would experience few, if any, long-term health effects from nuclear fallout, despite anecdotal evidence to the contrary. And indeed, this is what the majority of studies and summaries of studies point towards. And Hiroshima today has a population well over 1 million people. A habitable Hiroshima is contrasted with a place like Pripyat. Here, in 1986, a nuclear reactor exploded and then burned for days, which dispersed actual pieces of nuclear fuel and longer-lived fission products across a large area. There was no nuclear detonation. Chernobyl was effectively a dirty bomb, not a nuclear one. As a result, Pripyat will remain abandoned for decades, though spending time there isn't as dangerous as you might think. Today, stand in Hiroshima at ground zero with a Geiger counter, and you won't record anything above normal background radiation. Far from a nuclear wasteland, you'll find a thriving tourist destination, a carefully curated and cared for park dedicated to that day, where foreigners and buses of local schoolchildren can learn about what happened some 80 years prior. Hiroshima today is a bustling, beautiful city, scarred but healed. Today, Hiroshima, Japan has undoubtedly risen from the ashes, a consequence of both how offensive nuclear weapons are used and where. 80 years on, this city is a living, breathing monument to both why we need to get rid of our nuclear weapons and, in the face of nuclear weapons, how the human spirit can endure and survive. Until next time.
What do you need?
All right. What's up, everybody, and welcome back. It's the grand finals of Home Story Cup, and this man coming from the upper bracket. What an absolute monster, Gumiho. And who thought he would be here? With the lineup we have at this tournament, so many amazing players falling by the wayside, but this guy has just been unstoppable. Unfortunately for him, he's facing the world champion, the best Terran in the world, who has decided to appease the fans and play Protoss in a tournament where 6 out of the top 8 players were Terran, 1 Zerg, 1 Protoss, and they're both obviously eliminated at this point. Clem has said, you know what, I've been laddering a ton of Protoss recently. I've been having a lot of fun with it. He's like top 10 EU ladder with Protoss. And he said, you know what, yeah, let's play Protoss. He apparently, I think he played Protoss against Gumiho in the qualifiers for Home Story Cup. Lost 2-1 there in a narrow match. But looked like it was very evenly matched. You know, it was a very close 2-1. And playing Protoss here is crazy. I mean, everyone was like, oh man, another tournament, Protoss just getting kind of wrecked. There weren't that many great Protoss players, but there was all good, or Baron's probably already been 6 probes might sound like a lot, but units lost is still in Clem's favor. His third base is almost done. And you might think, well, equal workers is good for Terran. Not really, because look how much Gumiho's committed. His second and third barracks has just started. Stim shields, the scary point where Terran's actually doing proper pressure, is minutes away in this game. All he's got in the interim is a Raven. He could do a little Marine drop or something, try and sneak around, but that'd be very dangerous because he's so light on units at home. And these Stalkers are in the front. They're going to look for a tank snipe. Super worth. Super worth. Doesn't even lose a Stalker. Great tank snipe. Bad position for Gumiho. That was way too risky, man. He should have had like a tank here maybe and a tank up here, but he goes for the risky move and now he gets punished. A couple of SCVs go down in behind the natural. Raven comes in, gets shut down. Great multitasking for Clem. That's the thing about Clem and Raynor. When they off-race, you never get the idea that their multitasking is stressed. Sometimes they miss something. They get surprised by an attack. They get caught out not knowing what to do in a situation, or not doing the best option, or playing a bit too standard. But their multitasking is exceptional, and that's why they are so good with that off-race. Now, Raven could come in and do some stuff. Observer gets taken out. Gumiho still hasn't started Stimmer Shields. It's 6 minutes 20. Like, Gumiho just doesn't have any play from here, guys. He's going to sneak a Marine drop out. Stimmer Shields starting at 6.5 minutes. Clem has a free pass to 4th base. Clem can go 2 more gases. He can make Robo Bay. He can take a 4th base. Honestly, there's just no threat from Terran right now. Gumiho desperately trying to do something to surprise Clem. But Clem, he's all over this game so far. He's got an Observer seeing that there's no 3rd command center. And he's already up 10 plus workers and could get even further ahead. Raven goes for a single auto turret. He's going to go for another one to try and delay a little bit of mining. Don't think this is very high impact. As long as Clem pulls back to the battery, he shouldn't be losing any units. And we can see that Raven. Oh, I guess a second probe. Oh, Marine's in the main. Non-stim Marine drop actually getting way more damage. No recall available right now. Oh, that is a bummer. He just lost a bunch more probes and a pylon goes down. Delaying the upgrade. Good force field. That was a cute force field. The Marines are about to slip into the medevac. Stop them from doing it. Does allow that medevac to take a lot more damage. Raven's going to go for yet another auto turret. Gumiho, this is so crucial. This is absolutely essential. If he was not doing this damage, he would be screwed. Because like I said, Clem has a free pass to a 4th base, which he's still got. He's still up 5 workers even after all that damage. The 3rd command center has just started. Gumiho's early harassment did not pay off. Clem is in an... He wasn't in an amazing position. He's still in a decent position. And I am just amazed at how good his PVT is, especially against a dynamic kind of dicey player like Gumiho. Does a lot of cheeky build orders. We've got 9 gateways up, guys. Looks like a 10th one will be transforming once that pylon does build there and repower it. Robo Bay coming in. 4th gas coming up for Clem. Very gas-centric. Only 61 probes. He's got an observer over there that will see this prism. Good blink backs. Does lose a stalker. How many stalkers has he lost in total this game? Only 2. Wow, that's actually amazing. That medevac marine drop on that left side unloading. We've got a prism coming in now. Zealots will unload in this base, but with the marines and marauders there, not really going to find the mark. Just going to say, okay, you need to build a Viking now, and you can see the Viking does queue up to get rid of this prism. Otherwise, you can hide in the back all day. Clem's just going to dance it around. A lot of Protoss players won't continually micro this, but for Clem, he's like, dude, I have unlimited APM. Of course I'm going to do this. He wanted to pick off his SCV, but the medevac saves it. Coming in to try and cancel the 4th base, but the 4th base is on the right side. First Colossus is on the way. No extended thermal lance just yet. This prism's still dancing around. Finally. Oh, a turret comes up, and he drops some marines and marauders in that main. Tries to get himself a marauder, but as he sees the Viking, he's just going to leave those zealots there. Can he finish the marauder off? Yes, he can. It stimmed itself into one-hit territory. Zealot Stalker coming in. Force fields going down, but not enough units for Clem to take that fight. That's a problem. Auto turret does take out a Stalker there. Should get itself a probe as well. Indeed it does. The Raven, though, has been F2'd home because these Zealots are still in the main base. Did the Prism go back in? Prism just went back in and died. I thought he'd bring that home. Bit of chaos on both sides of this game, but Clem finds himself up 15 workers. If he can defend the army, he should be good. But his army sucks. I say that with a question mark. I'm like, it's not great. It's a few Stalkers, Zealots, a couple Sentries. Force fields could be clutch. His second Colossus is on the way, as is extended thermal lance, but it's not ready just yet. So Clem, down 25, 30 army supply. He needs to just mass units, Zealots, maybe a few small counterattacks. Force fields could buy him a little bit of time. That one doesn't do much. Blinking forward. Oh man, that's a dangerous blink. Trades his Zealots. He does get 3 Vikings though. Worth it to get the Vikings, but he cannot fight without Zealots. He's pulling back right now. He's going to need to use energy recharge on one of those sentries so that he has more force fields available. Look at that tank marauder spread. Gumiho takes position. And that's a dead 4th base, I do believe. Clem trying to hang on here, seeing if he can break out of this position. Stalker's blink to the left, take out the tank. That medevac looks very exposed there, but the Stalker's not being targeted on it. Widowmine does go down. The Stalkers and Colossus need to get back. As long as you keep the Colossus alive, there's hope here for Clem, but without the Colossus, you are done for. Stalker's starting to fall. That's a big problem, dude. That's a big problem. Yes, the Marauder count is out of control. Up 40 army supply. They are heavily wounded, so Gumiho has to be careful with stimming right now and fighting around this corner. Does get rid of the Observer, though. He's going to pull back and heal, which is the wise decision. 4th Command Center building, 60 probes from 74 for the Protoss. Stalkers come forward. Staggered blink micro there for Clem. Clem's 3rd Colossus is about to come out. He's got an armor upgrade coming in. Super worth going armor. That's much faster to upgrade a level 1 upgrade than it is to go for a level 3 attack. 3 drops going into the main base right now. Clem, does he see it? No, it's in the shadows. Oh, this is going to be devastating. This is going to be devastating. I think this might just be a checkmate. You're already down 15 army supply. You lose your +1 army. You lose 3 gateways at the same time. Gumiho's going to pressure that right side. He's just going to have to disengage on this side. As long as he gets these units home, I think he's fine. And Clem is not recalling because the Nexus is going down. The Nexus goes down. The Stalkers are chasing this army. Clem refusing to defend his base. He is instead just focusing on attacking. 13 probes going down, though. He's losing his entire main base. He needs to do big damage. He does chase down the Vikings very effectively. That medevac has not properly unloaded yet. Gumiho trying to pull back to defend his 3rd base. Recall finally coming in. Gumiho picks up and loads up and boosts away. Does lose 1 full medevac. Great snipe there. But look at that. He instantly unloads. And he scans and he says, I know you want to get back to that right side, but you can't do it. At the same time, a Colossus goes down on the right. Dude, this is huge for Gumiho. He's going to take out another 2 gateways here. And he should be trying to pick up and leave. Oh, he's overstayed. He's overstayed. This is a big waste of units. That's like a lot of units. But oh, he gets out 3 Marauders. I did not think he would save anything. Gumiho, lucky to get those units out of dodge. 4th Command Center's floating over for him. He's got himself +2 attack on the way, but double Robo Colossus rebuilding here. You know what? Clem didn't lose too much. He's actually got 8 gateways still. I mean, the armor upgrade being delayed in the main base is rough. He's back to 3-base mining. Very similar income on both sides. He's trying to rebuild on the right. He's not bothering to rebuild the main base. He's just going to repower some of those gateways, adding these pylons, and at the same time, he's going to attack the right side. Double drop goes down the left. That's right. Gumiho's not done attacking that main base. He knows there's valuable infrastructure there, and it is open wide. Easy pickings for the Terran. But 4th Command Center getting damaged. A bit of Marine Marauder's going to go over. Gumiho could take this fight, but of course, if you don't stutter step because you're distracted, it can be a problem. Stalker Colossus splitting Gumiho's army. Gumiho's in trouble right now. He did counter drop at the same time. He's doing big damage, but the Medevac starting to get chased down, as well as the bio on that right side. On the left side, like I said, if you don't micro, Zealots do really well versus Marine Marauder, and Gumiho doesn't quite have the multitasking of a player like Clem. Clem taking advantage of that right now. Marauders in the main. Can they take out the Colossus? If they get the Colossus, it might be worth, but he's not going to be able to. The Colossus defends. The main base survives. I do think he lost his Forge there, though. Yes, he lost his Forge. No +1 armor kicking in. Caduceus Reactor coming in for Medevac energy for Gumiho. Marauder drop behind the 3rd base. This game is pure chaos right now. I can't believe Clem didn't pull back to defend his main and just pushed forward, and yet is actually finding good fights. Look at the units lost tab. It's not that bad for Clem, despite losing all that stuff in the main, because his army versus army fights are so good, and he keeps focusing the Vikings. Without enough Vikings, you cannot handle the Colossus. It's not going to be able to get the work done. The Colossus killing the command center. Every SCV on the 3rd goes down, and Gumiho has to tap out. Clem, I could not believe it, man. This map is hard as Protoss to defend that main base. I really thought this would be a Gumiho favored map because Doom drops in the main would be so scary. Clem's like, yeah, that is scary, but what if I just ignore them and hunt your army down on the right side of the map, mercilessly pushing the 3rd? Great play for Clem. All right, guys, Clem in the top right side, sticking with Protoss on ley lines. And that is kind of crazy, man. But when you win a game like the last one, why not? This map, I think, is better for PvT. And, you know, I really wonder if Gumiho tries to play macro. I can't imagine he does. Gumiho is such a specialist, cheeky, cheesy, weird timings. I mean, that attack in that last game, sieging a tank in the back of the main, pretty cool play. I think if he unsieged and left, kept his tank and 4 Marines alive, it would have been a much harder game for Clem. But losing the tank and the 4 Marines in the main, just getting the medevac out was pretty costly. I think he only got 1 Stalker for that. All right. Second pylon on the natural there. It is a core first build. Makes sense. Clem's playing really safe. You'll notice that Clem plays like max packs. And when asked about it, he says like, oh, I like playing Protoss like max packs. And you'd think like, but come on, max packs play is like such a sick, refined style. Clem knows max packs builds so well, and he plays a very similar style. Now, the downside of this style is it is, you know, real fine line of greed. Very standard, very predictable. And I think Gumiho, if he can come up with some really special timing attacks, could definitely punish him. So it looks like we're going to see a quick factory swap over. Might see an early Hellion dive. Or maybe a fast 4 Widow Mine drop. Could be good. Clem is max packs. No, I was actually... A lot of people during this tournament, when Clem was playing Protoss at any point in it, we were all kind of saying in the Twitch chat, hey, no one's ever seen them before. Is Clem just playing on 2 computers at once against himself, like every week in the finals when we see Clem versus Max Packs of the weekly cup? Like, it could be, right? That's why we've never seen him in person. Starport coming in here. Command center on the high ground. Gonna go straight Cyclone. Okay, well, early Cyclone. This is interesting. I mean, the Cyclone's a very good unit for just pushing back the vision, shuts down Oracles, Phoenix pretty hard, but it's a big expense. And this is a delayed natural, right? Does it matter that much? Not really. You're only on 24 workers. In terms of getting it to the natural right now, you're not oversaturated, but you did delay, you know, getting into the situation where you're dropping mules on the natural and all that. So we want to drop a mule and start building SCVs. He's not doing it right now. A little distracted. There we go. They'll start lifting that down. Marines coming down. You don't want to lose any of these Marines, though. As long as you keep them alive when the medevac's here, it's probably fine. Cyclone, he's hiding the Cyclone. Cyclone's trying to come out. Gumiho, trying to run his Marines away. He'd like to catch these. And he should lock onto the one that... No, wrong. I think that's the wrong Adept. I would have gone for the other Adept, but it looks like he does have enough lock-on time to kill it anyway. Well done. All right, guys. Second and third gate with a Robo. It looks like he was planning to go 2-gate Blink Robo. Maybe was planning the third from the start, but especially after seeing that Cyclone, decides to do it. Now, the Marines are heavily damaged. 7 Marine drops going to move towards that main base. Has he already queued it up? Looks like... No, he's just clicked it up here towards the third base. And it is going to be a very quick third attempt here for Clem. Already moving out there at the 4-minute mark. A couple of Stalkers and an Adept on the natural. Stims on the way already. That's a bit of an earlier stim this time, isn't it, guys? Second and third barracks much faster than game 1 as well. So Clem's going to have to deal with a scarier mid-game where Terran's actually in his face. This Marine drop hiding in the shadows. Uh-oh. Nice unload here. Blink, still about 15 seconds away. Good probe pull, though. Very good probe pull. Really nicely played by Clem. Should be able to defend this if he brings everything up. He's actually left a few Stalkers in his natural. Doesn't want to pull everything out of position. He's going to lose the Adept, but he does take out a Marine or two. Not too bad. An Adept for 2 Marines there is pretty decent. And the third Nexus does go down about 435. Observers coming out after the Warp Prism. Okay, so Clem wants to pressure. He's got to be a little wary of that drop coming back in. He's leaving just 2 Stalkers to defend. And indeed, the drop will be coming back around that north side. Back at home for Gummio, he's got 1 tank, and he is building a second. So he's committing to tank. He's also got... Oh, it's the double reactor play! It's the old school Gummio build, guys. This is a fierce Marine tank pressure, but he's going to lose the Cyclone unless he isn't. 1 hit point Cyclone gets out of there. With this build, guys, you make both upgrades consecutively from a single tech lab. It has a very early power spike where you have an insane Marine count with 3 tanks. Notice he's not even got a reactor, just building medevacs 1 at a time. He doesn't have a lot of healing, but oh, he's going to lose a tank. The Marines do some pretty good damage, though. I think that was 2 Stalkers for a tank. Usually a very good trade to do that, but he does take a lot of damage across those Stalkers, so it depends on what happens next here with his micro. Oh, he blinks forward! Crazy person. He does bait a stim, and remember, there's not many medevacs, but I think those Marines will catch up. Oh, Clem, he's unloading Stalkers and loading the ones at the back into the front, and he immediately re-engages. The micro, the multitasking, the balls on this kid are insane. Most players just run away in that situation, but he doesn't. Combat Shields is now on the way. More Marines coming out. There's only 1 tank right now. This is a problem. You're normally meant to do a 3-tank push, guys. And he's going to make it a 1-tank army. The Stalkers find a tank. Clem is a freak. He's going Templar Archives. He wants to play Psystorm, guys. He should actually probably play Armor, in my opinion. But he's got 12 Stalkers, so he's deciding to go for this. He's going to pick up a Marine. He wants the reactor. Looks like he's not going to be able to get it. But with the pickups, pulls back to the low ground, doesn't lose any units, gets a few more Marines. Clem is simply out multitasking a very static style of Gummio. But wait, Gummio, he was waiting for a long time. He waits for the probes to rally over, and that is the counterattack that Clem was not expecting. He was microing on the front. He loses a Stalker there, and his Stalker's going to come over to defend, but probes and Stalkers not really a match for Stim Marines. The probes aren't even fighting. I feel like the probes probably should have fought there. These Stalkers, they misblinked. They misblinked there. He needs to get down there, mate. Lots of probes going down at the same time, trying to reclaim control of the high ground. That Cyclone hanging out, still on 1 hit point. Oh, look at that. Gets lots of damage across those Stalkers. Here comes the push. This is a Marine all-in with a single tank and a single Cyclone. You need Psystorm, but you don't have it. Clem does not have it. SCVs are being pulled. Gummio was getting mauled in this early game, but Clem is a bit too slow to charge, a bit too slow to storm. He needs to buy time, and that means he's got to give up his 3rd. If he gives up his 3rd, he's good, but he doesn't know about the SCV pool. Giving up your 3rd feels terrible against a 2-base Terran. He doesn't know about the SCVs, which means it's going to be really hard for him to make that decision. But if he fights pre-storm, he's dead, guys, and he needs 30 seconds. Gummio is not going to give him 30 seconds right now. You cannot fight over here, Clem. You need to run away to your natural. He abandons ship. Great call. He needs to build more pylons, though. Otherwise, he's going to get supply box. Stalkers pulling back. Storm getting chronoed 1 more time. It's 15 seconds away. He's got to pull back. He's already taken a lot of damage. A few good storms could do it, but look at the position for Gummio. If Gummio realizes what's happening and spreads his Marines, he'll be fine. But if he takes 1 or 2 big storms to the face, it could be game-ending. High Templar coming forward. High Templar coming forward. He's only got 1 inside the prism right now. The High Templar looking for the storms. Look at the pre-spread for Gummio. He's going to spread these units out as best he can. I wouldn't mind him even sending his SCVs home, potentially. He's trying to build bunkers out front. Cyclone there. Storm comes in. Decent first storm. Second storm doesn't really land. Good pullbacks right now. Great storm on the south, but he needs 1 more. Where's the energy recharge? He doesn't use the energy recharge. Clem under pressure here in the heat of the moment. 1 more storm here would have been game-changing. Oh no, he doesn't use the energy recharge. Runs out of storms. And Gummio manages to finish it. Look at how close that was. Look at how close it... Guys, he's got half his SCVs on the front line. Gummio's natural's got 8 workers on it. He's so committed right now. He's so very committed, but look at the dodges on the storms, not to mention the pre-splits, and really nice play, especially for a guy who had so few medevacs. The Stalkers did take care of the tank. 1 more storm, a few more Zealot warp-ins. Clem floating a bit of money. He's only on 6 gateways as well, not 8 gateways. Beautiful counterattack timing for Gummio. I would, if I go back in this game to like 6.5 minutes before those Marines ran in the 3rd, I would have put money on Clem very heavily. It really looked like he was outplaying Gummio, especially after getting the first tank, right? 2 Stalkers for that first tank really opened up the opportunity to be so annoying with his Stalkers. The medevacs had no energy. Like, Gummio was so all in. He's already doing a single starport medevac production play. But these Marines coming in really disrupted, distracted Clem. And not only does it do damage, as I said, it distracts him and it delays him starting Storm. He could have already started Storm at this point, guys. But look at how long Storm, like let's look at, like, well, Storm could have technically started right on 6 minutes 32. 31, 32. Let's say 32. He doesn't end up starting it because of that Marine drop until about 6:44. You might think, oh, it's only 12, 13 seconds. It's a big difference. We saw this push. Imagine if that's 12 or 13 seconds sooner. I also think he could have chronoed it just a little bit more. He's done a really good job at spending his energy, though. He was very low on energy on the Nexus, which is part of the problem here. Definitely would have liked to see him refilling these High Templar on energy a little bit earlier as well. And if you use that energy recharge, it takes a High Templar that has 50 energy to 150, potentially can give you 2 Storms, especially if you warp in a High Templar for it. I understand why he was making Archons just to get some combat units out, but damn, what a narrow victory for Gumiho. Really clutch for Gumiho, though. If he went down 0-2, that would be a disaster. And he's doing it again. That's right. 3 games in a row. Is Clem just full-on committed at this point? It feels like when you get down to match point, there's going to be that voice in your head that says, go back to your main race. Go back to Terran. Play it safe. But, I mean, he lost in the TVT earlier to Gumiho. That last game was nail-bitingly close. Clem may just commit 100% to Protoss. We'll see how it goes. Top right side, Gumiho here, going to be going for a gas first. Often pairing that with an engineering bay block do players, but Gumiho is just going to play it blind, I believe. And I think no SCV Scout gas first is a very good build, assuming you don't get caught off by like a proxy gate or something. Builds which are not in the meta and very rare for someone like Clem to do that. A good point from Twitch chat. Someone said, you know, if Clem hit his High Templar for a bit longer and Gumiho didn't know that it was Storm, because he had no idea it was Storm until the High Templar kind of just waddled up next to the Nexus, he could have just shown it in the Warp Prism. And Gumiho would have been way more stacked up with his Marines and SCVs and probably would have taken bigger Storms and potentially lost the game on the first engage. I agree. I think I agree. Yeah, I do think the delay on the Storm mattered, but and that's part of why he was kind of so panicky and showing his High Templar. But definitely interesting to see how it goes. A few more gateways would have helped, but always hard to put those down when you're dealing with such a committed push. And I'll tell you, that Gumiho style, he doesn't do that very much anymore. He did that a lot when he first came back from his military service, that double reactor stim marine tank push. But he stopped doing it, specifically because it has such a drastic fall off in strength. If you lose your tanks and they have a Colossus out, you're just dead, right? You just cannot do anything against Colossus without the siege tanks killing the Colossus, right? Your Marauder production is like 1 Marauder at a time, so you don't even build any Marauders in the early game. It's just an awkward transition to a more normal game position. So whenever Gumiho wouldn't find damage with that sort of build, previously, he'd often lose. Like, he'd either win with the push, decent win percent, doesn't win with the push, loses most of the time. So that's why that build is something I haven't seen from him in a little while, but he said, hey, I don't know if Clem's going to know how to deal with it. The double reactor, you know, allows you to just pump out so many Marines off 3 barracks. Great. Does anyone know what is Marine Lord's top rate on SC2? Top rank? If you just look up a Ligulac Marine Lord, you can probably find his all-time high. Marine Lord got 2nd or 1st. Did he win? He versus Nurcio, or did Nurcio beat him? He played a finals the first time when he said, oh, I'm kind of retiring, you know, StarCraft's like, yeah, I don't think it's for me anymore. It was his... A lot of players do this. They say they're going to retire, and then they get their best performances ever. Marine Lord had that back in 2016, I want to say. 2017, one of those years. Somewhere around that time. And, yeah, like, he had some really great moments, especially whenever he was memeing, doing fun creative builds rather than just playing standard. That's when Marine Lord looked like his best. And he was a very good player for a while. But obviously focused on dominating Age of Empires these days. Oh, the Reaper gets in and gets out. Gets a probe kill as well. The Adept's going to try and hunt it down. One on the high ground, one on the low ground. The Reaper gets back. Cyclone building. So Gumiho's enjoying this kind kind of super safe high ground command center. Is there a chat command to find players' ladder rankings? No. The problem, you can't, ladder doesn't really matter that much. A lot of the players, it's hard to do because Grandmaster, you need to play enough games to get ranked in it. A lot of pro players either leave league or they play across a few different accounts. So the ladder ranking is not nearly as important as looking at the actual MMR of the players. Like a lot of the time, the top guys like Clem and Cyril aren't actually in Grandmaster. But if you look at their MMR, I'm not sure if there's a website that shows it. Maybe someone could link that up and let people know about it. But for now, guys, looks like Marine Tank. Dude, this is committed. Dude, this is super committed. He's just gonna... What's it, Liberator next? He's low on gas. He might build a Liberator next out of that. So this is just like a Marine tank push. Building tanks after Cyclone. 8 Marine Cyclone pressure. And what's the build here? 2-gate Robo into a third. Oh, Clem, don't do it. You got to build a third gateway. Oh, he's got a third gateway, actually. He's playing 3-gate Blink, which is pretty safe. But look at that. Cyclone gets a pick off on the adapt. Third Nexus going down. Clem has no idea what's happening. This build is so blind, guys. It's so blind. Look at that. Marine drops heading towards the main while the Cyclone and the Reaper distract. Get the Reaper out of there. Reaper's going to die. Cyclone does not want to commit. Remember, this is a fragile Cyclone. Marine drop hidden inside the main base. Clem's aware that this is a threat right now, but he moves away. No, he pulls back. He's got to be here to defend, and indeed he is. Gumiho, I would just run away if I was him. Yeah, good call. Loses a Marine and just says, okay, nope, get out. But look at this, guys. He's got a tank building, a second tank. He's building Vikings. Wow, Vikings. I mean, they're way lower gas than Liberators, and you land them, and it's like a budget Marauder. They're quite good at killing Stalkers. So I actually don't mind the Viking there. Obviously, if it turned out to be Stargate, it would be very helpful as well. He's just going to go for this super committed push. Also, look at this. Oh, he's waiting for the Stalkers to push. He's going to land a tank shot, and then he's going to come in from behind with the Marines. Those Marines need to move up to the left very quickly, though. I think Clem's going to blink away very fast. Clem's reaction speed is kind of insane. The tank's just unsieged. So yeah, he gets out. Good pullback for Clem. Clem knows there's some naughty business coming. He's got a Forge on the way. He's trying to chrono boost charge. He's on 3 gateways with 2 more building. He needs to keep making gateways, even in the midst of dealing this, which is so hard to do. Oh, the medevac! The medevac goes down, doesn't quite split fire to kill the Cyclone straight away, does lose his Observer, but great micro. He's only lost 1 Adept and his Observers. The Stalkers can slow this push down. Very committed push for Gumiho. Doesn't quite get the tank fully off. This is where I think Clem needs to go around with his entire army. He was expecting Gumiho to unsiege there. He keeps expecting Gumiho to unsiege. Gumiho does unsiege, but Gumiho actually pulls back. Second and third barracks coming up. Engineering bay as well. Gumiho's trying to set up an ambush. Gumiho's no longer committing. He's been building workers the whole time. I think he's going to start a third command center behind this. He's going to give up on killing Clem right here. Clem going to go around. I'd love to see these Stalkers loop all the way around and hit that natural. Cut off the rally, because right now, if your opponent's screwing around like this, you can punish them super hard by just counterattacking. If you play too scared, this is where this works well for Gumiho. Look at the way Gumiho is just pulling back little by little, trying to set up these little ambushes in the middle of the map. If you stumble into them, he might get a few Stalker kills, but now he's backing away. New Observer comes out. Clem finally, with a bit more vision on the map, is going to give him some confidence. 2 more gateways come down. That'll take it to 7. He's got a third base fully saturated. This was a good, effective defense. Gumiho did not find enough damage. Similar to game 1, he finds himself trailing. Third command center is going to go down there, though. But look at the economy disadvantage. Starting a third when your opponent's already on 60, Clem can take a 4th. He's going to move up here and build a pylon for now. He's got Stalkers that could pressure. Look at that tank wedge, though. You have to be really cautious of this tank wedge. Vikings take out an Observer. Those 3 tank shots can one-shot Stalkers. Gumiho's going to have to just chill out for a minute here. He's hoping to catch a Warp Prism with the Vikings. Shouldn't send them too far out, though. Just chill there is probably the best idea. I like that Clem's playing a bit more defensive now, not presenting his units for easy snipes. He's going to go Robo Bay, usually with the 4th gas as well as Robo Bay goes together with the Max Banks build, and that's exactly what he's doing. Drop. going around the north side. Just 8 Marines. Stim and Shields will finish. You could try to cancel a 4th. Looks like you won't be able to get into a 3rd. Maybe the best bet is just to stim into the 4th, maybe a minute from now, catch some workers, and then run away. Here we go, guys. Marine does get focused. Good medevac micro to dodge a little bit for Gumiho. And Gumiho gets spotted by a single probe. Good attention to detail. You should just leave now, Gumiho. 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 What are we doing? Dangerous, man. Super dangerous. Get out of there. Those stalkers are hunting. Barely gets out of here. That's so dangerous. No, wait, he's going to lose it. Never mind. Never mind. Oh, he sees the stalkers. Remember, medevacs have really good sight range, so they can often see further than the enemy. Does pull it back to safety. Well done. Marine Marauder tank coming out to the 3rd. Gumiho is down 10 workers, but his 3rd is at least now landed. He can secure this position. Widow Mines out front. Marauders, Marines, and Mines coming forward. Those Mines a bit too far forward, though. Burrows them kind of late. Then again, the Widow Mines didn't actually die. Does get those Widow Mine shots to fire. Nice micro by Clem at the same time. Zealot drop in the left side. Sorry, the right side of that base. The Zealot drop doing really well here. Not many units to defend. Unfortunately, the wall-off is delaying those Zealots getting in unless they get microed further. Tanks still defending the 3rd base. Zealots on the natural. 13 workers are down. Even more are going to fall before this is over. 16, 17 workers.
target. I'm out of range. That's me, charge in. begin.
potentially going down. Widowmine gets a good shot there. These Widowmines on that left side still have not been taken out. And I think, did he just lose his Warp Prism, guys? No, where is it? Warp Prism did just recall home. But 19 SCVs, a massive amount of economic damage. Clem has more Colossus building. He's got a Dark Shrine on the way. 4 probes at a time building. He's already at 68 versus 39. He does not need more probes. Clem, he's let the army slip by him. He should send a few Zealots into that third. Indeed, he's going to, realizing Gumio's left that unguarded. Gumio going for a bit of a crazy move forward, but I think it's the right thing to do. Your worker count sucks. You're not going to rebuild your workers. Just go kill him. And if you can win this fight, that's all that matters. Your bad worker count won't matter if you can take the fight to the Protoss right here, right now. One tank goes down almost immediately. The Colossus, the Zealots marching forward. The tanks are all gone. There's another Colossus in the top side. It's a little exposed there, guys, but he's going to hold the push, and that's all that matters. Clem with a 2-1 advantage in PvT. His first time playing Protoss in a Grand Finals. This is an awesome start to the finals for Clem. All right. Clem is sticking with it. He's going to go Protoss on Amygdala. It's a big map. Takes a while for rushes to get across. Good drop paths. Frontal pushes, though, much slower to get across. Gumio says, instead of getting across the map, though, how about I build my barracks on your side? Gumio sending one of his first workers across for the proxy barracks. Gumio down 1-2. Now, remember, if he loses this series, he still has a best of 3, right? Because he's in the upper bracket. He beat Clem earlier in this tournament. Some people that really rubs them wrong. They go, well, this is so unfair. You gotta go, guys. Gumio hasn't lost a series in the whole tournament. Clem has. Clem wasted his life up against Gumio as well. I think it would be grossly unfair if you didn't have a format like this. Clem already beat Gumio in a best of 5. The fact that now, it's like if Clem won a best of 5, he wins the tournament would be kind of silly, right? So I actually like this format if you're going to do double elim. I don't think you need to do double elim, but if you're going to do double elim, give players second chances. I do like it to be balanced out. And there we go. Clem's going to scout, and he's like, okay, I'm getting proxied. Core before Nexus at about 1:23. Not pulling off minerals onto gas at all, guys. Indicating he's not planning to do Stargate. That makes sense, right? He said he's a big fan of Max Packs. He likes playing PvT the way Max Packs does. And honestly, yeah, predictable Twilight Blink, probably 3-gate Robo, right? The most solid play. I don't think Clem is going to be out here saying, let's vary my opening up. I think he's going to do the exact same middle-of-the-road safe build because he's doing well with it. And why stop? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just keep going 3-gate Blink every game, and we'll see how we go. Here we go, guys. Reaper's coming forward. See if he's got that Max Packs probe micro. Max Packs is so good at not losing probes in these situations. Oh, but he exposed a weak one at the front, and Gumio takes advantage. You don't want to lose... Like, Max Packs often usually loses none there. Clem only lost 1. That's still a good hold. In my opinion, that's still fine. Losing a probe, like, look at this. The barracks now has to float all the way home, which means you don't have a reactor building. Your command center is also delayed because you've gone for the factory, but what can you do off the...
I need to get closer. Got steel recharging.
factory, make a tech lab, then make a cyclone. I mean, there's just not that much you can do with this. He's going to start a second barracks. Wow. Okay. I mean, this is always weaker because you got to float this first barracks home, but he's going to go 3 barracks, no starport, perhaps. He could do a no stim push. He doesn't have to, but it's an option. No stim pushes. Sorry, not no stim. I meant no medevac. No medevac push hits like a brick. You just have so many units so early, but the brick crumbles very quickly. Every stim you do is so painful. Yeah, it's 3 racks. So he's getting a cyclone to deny scouting. Normally you want to put one of these barracks on this tech lab because you don't want to keep building tanks this early. You won't have enough money for 3 barracks production and tanks, especially with such a delayed command center. On the other side, second gateway going up in the natural wall. We expect a robo to go here. Third gateway probably goes up in the main base as well. And of course that blink gets chrono boosted. 2 stalkers and an adeptor out. And the cyclone's going to run forward for a little bit of pressure. See if it can pick off an adeptor or a stalker perhaps. The threat of this old tech lab cyclone is very real. Aren't most double elimination tournaments organized so you can only get to the finals if you haven't lost? No, that's the upper bracket finals. And then you go to the grand finals, and then the players who both get to the very final round of the losers bracket. They play the losers finals, and the winner of that gets here to this match. So Clem just won the losers finals, and now he's into the final, the grand finals. Yeah. Stalker's coming forward. Reaper's going to be pulling back. Oh, fourth barracks? Oh my god, holy mother of all ins. Guys, the problem is, if he just goes Mass Marine and you're going Charge instead of Colossus or Storm, this is really hard to beat. He's going to have 2 Tech Labs, 2 Reactors. Oh my lord, he's going to have such crazy numbers. Dude, this is such an all-in. Look, he's already cut workers. Gumio is all in. Gumio is said, I'm done with I'm cutting workers half the time. This is not about worker production. This is about having a ridiculous army with no fallback, no healing, nothing. He is as all in as they come. This observer, if Gumio scans this observer and it doesn't see the extra barracks, it's lights out for Clem. There is no way you can defend this if you don't know what's coming. Even as it is, he's going to go the standard max packs build, charge, +1 attack, 8 gateways before going for that. And look, Gumio's watching. I mean, you see tanks, you see Marines. It looks a little suspicious. I don't know if it's enough to really make Clem wonder, though. Oh, you can see Gumio knows that observer's there. Clem knows he knows it's there, so he can't see the 4 barracks. This is huge. This is absolutely massive. Stalkers will be on the front. There's a Reaper coming in. That's going to distract him a little bit. But as I said, he's going to go... he's on 3 gates. He's going to go to 5. And he's going to build 3 more gateways before going for 4th gas and Robo Bay. That's what Max Pax does every single time. Observer sees the move out. Okay, at this point, you know. At this point, you know. Nothing but gateways. Stop building probes. 3 more gateways and nothing but zealots and a sentry. He needs a sentry for Guardian Shield. He's forgotten to make a sentry, guys. Guardian Shield is essential against a mass Marine push. You know the boys are probably going to get pulled with this as well. It's so all in for Gumio. 6 Marines, 1 tank building at a time. He is so committed to this. He's got to stop Protoss from harvesting all the minerals off that 3rd and getting up to splash damage. And it looks like he should be able to. Stalker does take some damage there. Cyclone comes forward, gets a bit of damage as well. There is no sentry. Without a sentry, I don't think you can defend this. With a Guardian Shield, I think you can. Charge, a few seconds away. He's going to try and YOLO these tanks. If he can get all the tanks with the first charge attack, it should be fine. But that's a big if. 1 Stalker goes down. Battery trying to heal these Stalkers. Charge is almost ready. Clem thinking about going for it. Probes. He's going to go for it. If he can get rid of all the tanks, it'll be good. No flank, though. Notice how all the Zealots charge on the front. The Stalker's trying to spread out. 1 tank goes down. The Marines are so good at clearing the Zealots. Marines counter Zealots so nicely. Even with a little bit of splash damage getting dragged onto the Marines. Clem getting overrun. Trying to build an Immortal. Trying to make more units. The Immortal, I don't think will help. The Sentry now coming in. The tanks, honestly, probably would have focus fired the Guardian Shield. Gumio is on point right now. Even if Clem used Guardian Shield, I think he probably gets focused down. This is an amazing push for Gumio. And if you don't have splash damage, that Marine count is so good at dealing with Zealots. It's so very good. I think you have to cut off the reinforcement with this sort of build. I think with Gumio's build, it's so committed. If you cut off the reinforcement, you can take it out, but otherwise you can't. Like, you have to go around, blink across these rocks in the middle or something, and blink behind him. Because coming from one side, I just don't think you have the numbers. Look, the Marines are going to gun down these Zealots. The tanks keep focusing the range units so they don't do friendly fire. The Immortals and Zealots pulling back. Clem, he's trying to rebuild his 3rd in the north, but he just doesn't have the numbers. He's got 9 gateways, but he's only on 2 base minerals. He's got 800 gas, no Templar Archives, so he can't spend it. If he could make some Archons, maybe. The Immortal does get a shot off, doesn't quite get the second shot off. Remember, that's that attack speed nerf in action. It would have got 1 more shot off there, I am pretty certain, if it wasn't for that attack speed nerf. Clem, I'm probably still dead, though, even if he got that extra shot off, let's be real. He's in a really bad spot. I mean, to be fair, no, Gumio's got Medivacs building now as well, guys. He's got Medivacs coming out of the starport on the reactor. He's swapped that around. He's adding +1 weapons. He could start a 3rd command center soon. He is finally going to get cleaned up on this south side, though. That's a good trade there for Clem. Very nice. Dude, the micro for Gumio, though, gets a few extra Marine kills, Zealot kills with those Marines. And he's going to try and back away right now, trying to drop more Marines on the front. He's got these Marines. This is a crazy attack right now for Gumio, just continuing to fight with only a handful of units. He might throw away a few too many of these if he's not careful. Tank has to pick up and get out. Gumio needs to rally together and group back up. Clem, how are you alive? How? Ladies, can someone... How? He's not even down in workers. How? Clem is a freak. I mean, he's behind 1,800 resources and the unit's lost. but it is Clem. The man has an ability to survive things that I really did not think he was going to be able to. Couple of force fields coming. Doesn't have enough zealots, though. Oh, if he loses the sentries, it's going to be rough. But he kills a bunch of these Marines. Sentries trying to pull back the way. He's splitting the Marines against the tank fire. If he can take out that tank, which he does, and then get the sentries out, but the Marines are going to chase. He wants the observer. He wants the sentries. If he can get both sentries, I think it's maybe an okay trade for Gumiho. He did lose a lot of Marines and a tank. Clem desperately fighting for space. He's making more sentries. Robobay comes in as well, trying to make him overstim to a certain extent. I like the way Clem keeps fighting here, because he's like, look, I'm going to make you stim yourself to death. I'm not looking to actually fight. I am looking for that. The Stalker Zealot running forwards and back. Gumiho dancing in and out as well. His third command center is finished. He's equal on workers, which is bad for Clem. Clem is going to need to go really, really nice on the trades. He's got to get out of here. Threatening with the force fields. He lost a Stalker there. Great focus fire for Gumiho. Gumiho's got 5 racks. Wait. Gumiho has 6 barracks. I guess because he's used to doing 3 barracks, so you normally add your 4th and 5th. He's ended up going up to 5th and 6th barracks at the same time. 1 more reactor, 1 more tech lab, so it will be 4 tech labs, 2 reactors. He's also building Widow Mines. The medevac count is now very impressive. They've healed the bio up. 6 medevacs for 7 Marauders, 11 Marines. He just needs to keep that Marine Marauder count as high as possible. That's the one area where Gumiho is maybe slacking a little bit. His Marine production hasn't been great. He needs to hold down that Marine Marauder key as much as possible. You can see barracks idling here a little bit. Reactor not double producing Marines. Gumiho, this is a fundamental little basic mistake he's making right now. I feel like I'm watching my own play for a second there. Gumiho, you're not going to beat Clem if you make mistakes like that in the grand finals, mate. But there we go. He's back on point. Now he's doing it well. Now he's doing it really well. And there's no Colossus. It's about to pop out. It does not have extended thermal lance. Third base is in the open. If you get rid of this third, you've got the game in the bag. Force fields trapping the bio, but the boost saves most of them. 2 Marauders do go down. Colossus comes forward. More force fields trapping a few more Marauders up front. The Marauders not really dying very quickly, but the +2 Colossus actually adding a fair bit of damage. If it can land hits on the Marines, it'll get rid of them. One of the medevacs goes down as well. Don't chase. No, Clem. Bad blink forward. Clem clicks with his important thing. And he gets his important thing snipped off. That was such a big mistake. No, he just threw away his sentries and stalkers. He has energy recharge back in 30 seconds. He can't be affording to throw away units like that. Those sentries and stalkers are so important. That's a problem. You've got to keep it in your pants a little bit. Continually forcing fights is good, but not blinking forward. Force him to stim, blink away. Force him to stim, blink away. That's the way to do it. Zealots are going to try and go around the right side, or at least one of them is. Observer pulling back, Doom Drop coming forward. Oh, Gumiho might not realize he's being spotted. If you can intercept this with Mass Stalker and take out 1 or 2 of the medevacs, it could be huge. 3 Stalkers, it's enough to 2-shot now. He's going to have 5 Stalkers there. Ah, but the Zealots spot it, which is actually bad for Clem, because otherwise he might have been able to intercept these full medevacs while they were still loaded. Zealot goes around that right side. 2-1 upgrades on the way for Gumiho. He's rounding out his play now. 3 Marauders building, 2 Vikings. He's got the answers, right? Right now he's a little low on Vikings for the Colossus, but being at a pretty good spot. I mean, he's only 50 workers. Just the supply looks so bad. Clem just confidently taking a 4th in the midst of everything else that was going on. What? I don't even know when he took this. I just know that he's been in danger of dying for the last 5 minutes, and he somehow took a 4th and saturated it during all this. That is disrespectful almost. This is like that Max Pax level of like, I don't give an F, I'm just going to fight. But oh no, Clem! Colossus in the open, the Marauders are going to dive. The Marauders are going to take it out. That Colossus gets blasted. Oh, that is so unfortunate. You cannot afford a mistake like that. Not at this point. Now you've got a Marauder flank handily there, hanging out, looking fantastic. And the Colossus, and the second one goes down. Third one behind the mineral line. Probes forced into the fight. Zealots are coming in right now. But you can see that Gumiho's supply is miles ahead. The Vikings, can they take care of the Colossus before the Stalkers take them down? Yes, they can. The Marauder Marine medevac doing well. It's 2-1 upgrades to just +2. And Gumiho, man, he had to work for it here on Amygdala, didn't he? But what a close back and forth game. Crazy big Marine tank push earlier. Clem weathering the storm, surviving for a long, long time. Way longer than I thought he would. But at the end of the day, Gumiho is going to force Game 5. All right. Gumiho in Game 5 in the top left of Abyssal Reef. It's an oldie. It's a big map. This is why. But it's a brand new map. Clem does not have a lot of experience here. And Gumiho is looking to punish him. Blink's almost ready. I think maybe just give up this area, let him come a bit closer. But he sees the unsiege, or at least he guesses that there's an unsiege. He didn't see it, but he guessed it. Oh, but the picker, the unsiege allowing Gumiho to do some very fancy micro, and he slaughters the units. The tank finally goes down through the repair, but at what cost? 5 Stalkers in the depth for a single siege tank. That is a massacre. Clem getting his probes destroyed. He knows he can't afford to lose his robo. He's down to 2-gate production. He A-moves the probes. The Stalker's still trying to micro, but Gumiho just jams in a fast Cyclone Marine into tank push off a double gas opening, and Clem, he was taking a third base blind yet again, being too greedy. He's got to be using a hallucination scout, I think, before planning for that third. You guys have to realize, if we look at this build, guys, even if he doesn't pull SCVs, the expansion is so late. When a Terran does these double gas builds, they allow themselves to have way more aggressive options at their disposal, but they're also putting themselves behind economically. You can afford to go 4-gate blink against this, right? You can afford to do a 2-base opening. You saw that it was double gas early on. He should have known what was happening here with the vision that he had. He should have seen these guys mining gas, even though he didn't see the...
Essentially laying out the it was essentially identical. No BPC 157, no testosterone growth, nothing. Like, you can't do anything.
The standards are actually much higher now too, in contrast. Like you said, I would claim, or at least suggest, that they were doing full spectrum bulletproof testing, but it turned out they were almost never EPO testing. The HGH testing was never really done, and then also the isoform, what was it, the isotope ratio mass spec was not really being done either.
Was that a budget thing? Like, it was too expensive to do
yeah,
those tests?
I believe so, and also time intensive for some of these tests as well. And I guess for like the number of tests they were conducting, perhaps it was too extensive, or I don't really know what the exact motivation was. Like, often you would think it comes down to budget and time, but also if you have an expert who just thinks it's not warranted to go further, like the same way if you went to a doctor and you'd be like, should I test this? They'll be like, oh, if we know this, like, who cares? It's not necessary. Like, I don't necessarily know they went to the depth and rigor to claim somebody did or didn't cheat if I have, preliminary data that you would exclude having to go further. Sometimes you don't have to, test further if there's not an atypical finding. So
yeah, but like, if they're not testing for EPO, for example, and maybe there's an event in Mexico City, right, which is 7,700 feet above sea level. That place is brutal. That's where Cain Velasquez, who was known as like probably the greatest cardio heavyweight of all time, he fought Fabricio Verdum, and he did not prepare properly. Fabricio actually moved to the mountains above Mexico City and trained there for like 4 months. So Fabricio, who speaks fluent Spanish, lived in Mexico. He was really got ready, and he beat Cain Velasquez in that night to become the champion. And he had tremendous cardio, and Kane was just dying. That's how brutal Mexico City is. So imagine when you're competing at that altitude, or maybe Colorado Springs, or one of these like really high altitude places, which we have events, Salt Lake City, and you don't test for EPO.
Yeah, no,
that's
insane.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy, because that's the place where you would do it, particularly if like you're defending your title or you're challenging for a title.
Yeah, and it's like some of this stuff, even if you're looking for it, is quite difficult to detect anyway. It's like microdosing EPO is still, they're trying to refine the parameters and determine with greater scrutiny how to detect it. And
how long is the life it's detectable inside your body?
I believe it's like a few days, and that's if you're using like, that's not a microdose protocol either.
Well, how much of a benefit do you get from microdosing?
Fairly significant, given you can, even just retaining your baseline parameters if you're weight cutting can be quite helpful. So it's almost like offsetting, for example, the suppression of hormones or the suppression of like any sort of parameter that would decrease with heavy nutrient deprivation. If you can sustain it at normal, is performance enhancing in contrast to your competitors who are also weight cutting and might not have the same advantages.
Well, that's why TJ Dillashaw did it when he was dropping down to flyweight to fight Henry Cejudo, which is when he got popped. And, but he looked like a skeleton. Did you ever see those weight cut?
Yeah, that was insane. I might be misspeaking on the detection time of EPO, by the way, but it's at minimum, the microdose protocols that are being implemented still, even most recent literature, you find upwards of 50% of the studied participants where they're actually looking for it still pass their testing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, one of the things that I've read about sauna is that sauna use, especially like directly after cardio, imparts like a microdose EPO effect. Have you read anything about that?
Not recently, no. So I don't know. Maybe you could brush me up. Do you have a?
Well, maybe we could find it, but I know it's helped my cardio. It helped significantly because I went through an injury once where I couldn't do any kickboxing or any hitting the bag or anything for quite a while. And whenever I did come back from like 3 or 4 months off of that, it would be the first few days were fucking brutal, and it wasn't brutal at all. And it was because of regular sauna use. Sauna bathing can increase the production of EPO, a hormone that stimulates the production of red blood cells. This can improve endurance performance by increasing the amount of oxygen. Now, it says here's how. Plasma volume. When you sit in a sauna, you sweat, which comes from blood plasma. As your blood plasma levels decrease, your kidneys release EPO. So how do they detect endogenous versus exogenous EPO?
It's similar to how they would detect for bioidentical testosterone and other hormones. They look for, does it look like a endogenous signature? So different compounds, there's different ways to analyze, but in general, it's going to be either the molecular mass of it or something to that effect would be have a blatant difference between what you would make naturally endogenously versus exogenous origin, which is the way they make it in a lab, does not necessarily look exactly the same. So even though it's EPO that you're injecting, it's actually like recombinant, aka made in a lab, and not like, it's not like they're literally pulling EPO out of a guy and then giving it to you. It's like grown in a lab essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the things that Jeff Nowitzki actually said could be an issue, is that it is possible, at least theoretically, to take testosterone from animals.
Yeah.
So find a mammal-based testosterone instead of getting it from. So they create it from wild yams, right?
Yeah.
So wild yams from Mexico apparently are where they get all the testosterone. When you buy testosterone cypionate or whatever.
And soy.
Yeah. Soy?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
They use soy to, like the phyto, some of the compounds in the soy as well as yams look similar molecularly to the cholesterol that would get basically enzymatically converted to testosterone. So you can just manipulate that slightly to have like a highly reproducible at scale for low cost way to make hormones. And that's how testosterone is made.
Oh, that's interesting because soy is always associated with like soy boys.
Bad stuff.
Yeah, it's associated with high estrogen levels.
Yeah, I think the two primary ways they synthesize testosterone now is soy and yams.
So Nowitzki was saying that, at least in theory, a really good scientist could actually extract it from animals, and then it would be impossible to differentiate.
Yeah, I think maybe the first time I came on, we talked about the carbon isotope ratio testing and having a CIR-proof testosterone formulation, if athletes are doing that. And I did dig into it after we talked about it a bit more, and it does seem like there's strong evidence that suggests they're aware of it and are trying to find new ways to refine even the carbon isotope ratio testing. Now they're looking at like hydrogen ratios because it's more minute and specific apparently, as opposed to with the carbon content. They've seen suspicious testosterone formulations that look similar to endogenous carbon isotope signatures.
Wow.
And your diet, even what you ingest, can change what your signature is too, because they have to use as like a reference. They use, for example, from your urine, they'll find some other compound that is like upstream from testosterone, for example, and they will use that as a benchmark of like, this is what your signature is of how, the carbon content of sex hormones. And then if your testosterone has a different carbon isotope ratio than this, they know that, okay, however you got this in your body is different than the upstream hormone. So through that, we can infer that, you know, it's probably of exogenous origin. But if the exogenous origin one looks like the upstream hormones, like you would never be able to tell.
So it's possible if you were sophisticated enough to make the exogenous look like the upstream.
Yeah.
Even though you've injected it.
Yeah, and if you had like animal grade testosterone or cholesterol, even from like a medical grade, you know, compound facility or something, like you could probably react it down and create like a CIR-proof testosterone.
God, it seems like it'd be hard to keep that under wraps for very long without it getting out.
Maybe, yeah, but it's like the access to lab equipment and high-level testing is not as, the barrier is a lot lower than it used to be, for sure. Like I even have heard of people paying off WADA-accredited labs to get, like, testing done.
Really?
Yeah, so they could, like, assess where they stand in terms of, like, some of the testing that they would do to see if they'd pop or not.
Is that legal?
No.
So they bribe WADA? Allegedly?
There's WADA accredited labs, not just in the States, but like in other countries where they're a bit more corrupt and you can, persuade them to test your samples.
Oh, so you send your piss to Guatemala or somewhere.
Yeah.
And then they go, yeah, senor, you got problems. Senor, this does not look good.
Yeah. But yeah, and if you do enough homework, you can, develop a biological passport internally with your own team and, know you're bulletproof rather than just guessing.
Yeah. Well, there was some concern with Brock Lesnar at one point in time before he tested positive. And one of the concerns was that he was testing himself, that he had gotten tested like a number of times, which generally you don't do.
Now, why was that recorded, though? Like that they have his medical records? Because you can just like pay for blood tests and get urine analysis.
I might be speaking out of turn.
In. That spell isn't ready yet. I need to get closer. Can't cast that yet. That's still recharging. That spell isn't ready yet. I can't cast that yet. That's still recharging.
I might be speaking out of school here. I don't remember. I don't remember the thing. But I remember someone who knows things telling me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
kind of on the inside. So someone who knows
Sure,
things
sure.
on the inside told me, dude, he got tested like 20 fucking times or something crazy like that during camp.
Oh, well, he was for sure trying to get around that.
Well, he's also pissed hot. This is when he fought Mark Hunt. And
Right,
there's a
right.
giant lawsuit involved right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't know if that lawsuit has been, if it's still ongoing or what the deal was, but Mark Hunt was furious.
Yeah.
And it was obvious when you look at the guy. I mean, he was like 39 years old, 300 pounds, like cutting down at 265. He was fucking huge, man.
Yeah, what's even more interesting, too, is the storage of samples. A lot of sports don't actually do it. So with Olympic testing, oftentimes the positive test results come retroactively to years in the past. So once they've refined the testing and actually are able to detect, long-term metabolites of turinabol or something of that nature. But in a lot of sports, like especially in the U.S. for like traditional professional sports, they're not storing urine typically.
Right.
So if you have more refined testing get developed, oftentimes there's no way to actually penalize an athlete who was ahead of the testing curve at the time.
Right.
And at least from what I've seen, there's a really good paper. One of the guys I know who's on the inside on this, his name is Alex Cagliari Turner. He has excellent information and studies on this stuff, but he did a paper that basically outlined how I think 75% of the medalists that have tested positive in the Olympics at the Summer Olympic Games for the past, I don't know, it was like a full decade of analyzation. It was like 75% of them tested years later, not at the actual time of winning their medal. So if they're only being popped, 3 out of 4 people are getting popped retroactively over a half decade later or more, based on advancements in testing, you can just imagine how many sports are getting away with passing testing, given that retroactively they're not being tested at all.
Right.
So it's like if you're ahead of the curve now, there are a lot of sports where as long as you pass the test now, even if what you took had a more refined assay developed, 5 years from now, they're not going to go get your sample and retry it.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But wasn't there a famous Russian wrestler who was popped because they went back and looked at his old stuff, like once they developed new testing protocols?
Was it an Olympic athlete?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
that's why, because Olympic Games, they started storing samples 2004. So they're a bit more rigorous about that. And there are probably some sports that store, but the majority don't. Yeah. And it's like, you could say it's corruption, or you could say it's, people the sport trying to cover it up. But I think sometimes it's just like budget constraints too, because it's like you still have to be a profitable enterprise. And,
right.
I don't know how much you can, scrutinize the economics on something like that.
You're also managing at scale, right? Like how many athletes are you dealing with?
Yeah.
Like, how much time do you have to go back and, review all the different urine samples and go back?
Yeah. No, but it gets crazy because it highly suggests that in a lot of sports, as long as you're ahead of the curve, you're probably good.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you have to actually beat the test now, which is more and more rigorous by the year, of course. But at least historically, what we've seen is the testing usually lags behind the methods that are being developed to get around it.
Is there anything right now that is not being tested for that you think is effective?
Yeah, like in general, the most effective stuff is going to be bioidenticals, which are being tested for, but it's like at the scale, it's kind of up for debate because sometimes they don't test at all. Like, we saw with USADA, they were barely doing adequate in-depth testing for bioidenticals with no EPO testing or HGH testing. So I would say those are probably the go-tos, like EPO especially and HGH. There are other compounds that I think some people think they can get away with that sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Like, I think it's called trimethazidine. There was some like top-level tennis player who just popped like a week ago or something.
And what is that?
It's like an angina medication that the entire China Olympic team got popped for a few years back. Yeah, it was like 23 Chinese swimmers before the Tokyo Olympics got popped using this thing. and then they claimed it was like food contamination or something, and they were like, oh, I guess that's what happened. And then two of those athletes won medals in the recent Paris Olympics, and 11 of them were allowed to compete still. And
what does it do?
It shifts your efficiency of fuel utilization. So basically, in general, to create ATP, your body would oxidize fatty acids as well as glucose. And in endurance events, which is heavily oxygen sapping, if you can shift, which is what this drug does, it inhibits a process by which your body proportionally oxidizes more glucose than fatty acids, which is a less oxygen intensive process. So you can basically conserve oxygen proportional to the amount of ATP you're producing. So in an endurance event, if you can have more oxygen for less cost internally, then it's highly performance enhancing.
Wow.
Or it should be. It's kind of speculative as to if it's actually performance enhancing, but it's kind of a weird coincidence how many people have popped for this drug. Oh, by the way, you said the first time I was here, you said the Russian Olympics, the only people who didn't pop were the figure skaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a Russian figure skater who was 15 who was on this angina medication.
Well, that kind of makes sense, right? Because one thing you would want is more oxygen and endurance when you're figure skating. It's pretty cardio intensive when you're spinning around and flying around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
But they said that steroids, they found that like gross motor skills, he's so loud, dude. You can nudge him, keep him from fucking snoring so loud. But they found that like testosterone and things along those lines, like actual steroids, it was not good to be stronger as a figure skater. That it didn't enhance. But that was Gregory, whatever his name was, from Icarus.
Yeah, and I could see, obviously the compound selection will differ greatly depending on what sport, because there are some sports where being heavier is going to be problematic.
Right.
And you might, want something that could enhance, I don't know, your cognitive capacity or whatever it may be, or like slow down your heart rate, for example, for archery, or different applications for sure.
Like beta blockers.
Yeah, like for archery, for example, things like propranolol, like highly effective, as well as for, public speaking, playing piano publicly. I think there's like famous pianists who use this drug too.
Yeah, I've heard of people using beta blockers.
Snipers too.
Really?
Yeah.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Just dropping that anxiety response.
Yeah, and if it crosses the blood-brain barrier like propranolol does, it actually calms you down very significantly. It's not just about lowering the heart rate; it also like de-stresses you. Like it's an anti-anxiety drug, essentially.
Wow.
Yeah. You've never tried it?
No.
For archery? I'd be wondering if it was.
I thought about doing it once. I even asked my doctor about it. And he was going to get it for me, but I was like, I don't want to cheat. Like half of the bow hunting thing is about being able to keep your shit together, and if you could just do it, like if I could just shoot at a deer the way I'd shoot at a target, I don't think it would be the same.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
it's like part of it is
you're
like
a purist.
Yeah, in that regard, because part of it is the discipline of managing your mind.
Yeah,
and that's what I like about it. I like that it's hard to do.
Yeah,
I don't want it to be easier. It's fucking hard to do. And that's literally why I like it. Like, if I could take a drug that would make it easier to do, I don't think I would like it. I'm very effective right now. I'm real successful at bow hunting, relatively. For, like, it's a I go to a lot of really great places to hunt because I have money. I'm fortunate. But relatively speaking, bow hunting is not a successful endeavor. It's like maybe 10% of the hunts, like, when people get tags, probably less in most places. Actually harvest an animal.
How often do you do it?
I do it twice a year. I go on a big elk hunt, and I do like a bunch of pig hunts and stuff like that. In between that, maybe one deer hunt.
And it's like, how intensive of a prep is it? And like the whole process of doing the trip, is it like a multi-day thing? Or
yeah, I go for like a week. The really intensive part though is the preparation for it, and I was going to tell you about this too, because I actually fucked my body up getting ready for this one. So when hunting season approaches, for like 3 months out of hunting season, I ramp up all my cardio and all my archery. So I practice in my backyard. I practice archery. I'm shooting at 85 yards. I shoot an 84-pound bow, and I might shoot it 100 times a day. So I'm pulling 80 pounds, 84 pounds, 100 times in a day. And I'm doing it day after day after day after day. I'm doing it 5-6 days a week. So I was developing like severe pain in my lower back on my right side that led to like sciatica. And I was also developing some severe neck pain on my right side. So it's really an unbalanced thing, right? Because I really should draw something back with I should probably like at least draw back my bow with my left hand as many times as I draw back with my right, but I don't. So you draw back, so I'm pulling, it's 84 pounds to pull it back. It's at least for the beginning of the cycle, and then the cams rotate over and it significantly lowers. Like the holding weight is, I think my holding weight is like 20%, 20 or 25% of the actual weight of the bow. But what happens is as you're pulling back and you lock it in place, the way archery works is you want to what's called pull at the wall, right? So where the string hits the end where it can't pull anymore on a compound bow, I'm pulling hard against that wall so I'm steady. Right? And then I'm trying to relax this shoulder and pull, and I'm stabilizing everything with this lower back, with my lower back muscle. So on my right side, it was just getting locked up, like painful and stiff and sore and like hurt even when I walk, and I would just keep going. I would do it for hours, 3 hours a day. Just hours and hours and hours. And I just developed a real problem to the point where, like, when I was the last trip, when I was going up hills, my hips were getting numb, like my glutes weren't firing. I was getting sciatic pain. It was pretty bad. So I knew after hunting season was over, I was going to have to address it. So I got some stem cell shots, which definitely helped. I started doing a lot of stretching, no archery for a couple months, a lot of like hard foam. Like I have from Elite Flexibility, they make like a PVC roller with like a very thin layer, so it's very hard. And I was doing a lot of rolling in the sauna, cold plunge, sauna, stretching, and it was getting a little better slowly, but it was brutal. Like it was taking a long time to recover. And then I started doing this thing called NewFit. And what NewFit is electrical muscular stimulation while you're going through exercise routines. And so they slap these electro pads all over your muscles and fully contract you. And then you go through exercises while you're doing it. And it's like significantly increased my rehabilitation. Oh, nice. I've only been doing it for a few weeks too. I've only been doing it for like 3 weeks. All my back pain's gone. Mobility's back. No more sciatica at all. No issues at all. And everything is like much looser. It's like coming back.
So did you find that more effective than stem cells?
No, I think it's the combination of things. It's very hard to tell like what is actually working. But when you add one thing and then all of a sudden you get a significant response, I'm assuming that this NewFit thing is having at least responsible for, I mean, there's some sort of synergistic effect, right? Because I'm using peptides. I got this, like I said, I got stem cells shot into it. So this is like and it takes a while for the stem cells to take place. I'm sure that's part of it. But then this NewFit thing's pretty significant. So I've been doing that quite a lot. I've been doing that 4 days a week. And it's legit, man. It's really legit. I know Mike Tyson was using that when he was preparing for the fight with Jake Paul. So I know a lot of other athletes use it. A lot of people use it for rehabilitation. It's like it really reduces the amount of time that you have to recover from like surgeries and injuries and stuff like that.
What else are you using now as part of your...
Nothing new. Still BPC 157, TB 500.
Here's why steaks are better in restaurants.
Stuff
Probably
like that.
the most important thing is getting
stuff
good.
that I've always used before. This is the only thing that I've done that's really
quality meat. If you have a butcher in town, that's epic, but if you don't, Whole Foods has some pretty great quality stuff. So does Costco. This is skirt steak, a super underrated cut, and it had much better marbling than any of the ribeyes and New York strips. $17 for all this. For a super thin steak like this, I wouldn't even bother salting in advance, but for anything thicker, you should salt it at least an hour in advance. Now this is going to trigger some people, but sear it straight from the fridge in beef fat for 60 seconds for both sides and then let it rest for 10 minutes. Stare at it the whole time, otherwise one of your dogs might distract you while the other one goes ahead and eats it. Hypothetically. Now sear it again for 60 seconds on each side again, and then let it rest again. While your pan's still hot, just add in a little bit of butter and whatever herbs you like. Once it starts foaming, add your steak in again, and butter baste that brown butter until the steak's medium rare. Obviously not every restaurant is literally doing this, but a great restaurant is using a method of low temp cooking combined with longer rest times. Here's why steaks are better in restaurants. Probably the most
this new fifth. Have you ever seen it before?
No.
See if you can find like some examples of because like I said, Tyson was using it.
So it's no more time intensive because it's during training.
So what you're doing is so I'm doing it for rehabilitation. So this is what it looks like. So they slap these electrodes to you, so your muscles are just like locked up, depending on how much you can tolerate. You know, so I get them to crank that fucker up, and when you're doing it, your muscles are like completely flexed through the whole thing. It's like it's kind of painful. Yeah. And then while you're doing that, you're going through all these different exercises.
Okay, so they're like kind of rehabilitative type exercises as opposed to the actual workout that you'd be doing.
For me, what I'm doing is rehabilitative, but other people do it for hypertrophy. And bodybuilders do it apparently to, like, say if like you've got like trap issues, like you need to like have one area where you want to improve. They're slapping it to that area and then doing all these exercises.
Yeah, an entrepreneur that I'm friends with asked me what I thought about it as like a replacement for exercise.
Oh, just a replacement?
Yeah, and it was like such like a rich person question. Like, how do I not go to the gym and still like go to the gym?
There was a place in Boston when I lived there in the 80s that had that. I forget what it was called, but you would basically go there, and their claim was they would get you'd have a six-pack, you get jacked, and all you have to do is lay there. And so you'd lay there, and they'd put these electrodes on you, just...
Have you ever seen those like ancient like belly shaking things for like women to lose body fat?
Like back in the 40s.
Yeah,
they'd just sit there shaking back and forth.
No, I'm sure it's more effective than that, obviously.
Yeah.
Which did nothing, but I don't think it's a replacement. And I would speculate that the time it would take to stimulate yourself, if it's for hypertrophy, if you just worked out more, you'd probably get better results.
Perhaps. It's the idea is that it's enhancing you past what you would normally get because you're in this very unique state of constant contraction.
Yeah.
So there's no contract, relax. You are just contracted. You're just, and then you're going through all these exercises. So you have to kind of force your way through the exercises while you're contracted. It's kind of difficult.
I think if you're injured, it probably has a lot of viability, but I would be highly suspect of it being used for like a guy trying to break a plateau who's a veteran lifter, for example.
Right. Yeah, I would agree.
And no bodybuilder.
Hey there. That's still recharging.
I know attribute any success to something like this.
Right. Well, this guy was telling me that some bodybuilders use it to target areas that they like of having difficulty, like maybe your calves.
Yeah.
So like people have a difficult time growing calf muscles.
Most biggest nuisance of a body part genetically.
It's calf. Well, look at John Jones. That's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
Like one of the best kickers in the sport. No calves. They're like non-existent.
Yeah, it's so genetically predetermined seemingly that, you know, you'll have guys who are top Olympia caliber bodybuilders, and if they haven't had calves for their whole career, they don't suddenly develop them, even though they obviously know how to train. And then people will shit on them and say, you have no calves, bro. Like, learn how to train. It's like, this is my job. Like, do you think I don't know how to do a fucking calf raise?
But they just won't grow?
Yeah, like proportionally so, they lag behind significantly, and it's pretty obvious when somebody has a lagging body part when they're on stage. But it is like a very, very difficult area to locally, you know, if you don't have the genetics for it and the muscle belly it's very difficult to make
How weird.
a bad looking calf look good.
It's weird because you get a guy like John where everything else is pretty big. You know?
Yeah.
He's got big chest, big arms. Like,
And this is not to say don't train calves, because people get all riled up about, you know, skipping leg days and stuff.
well, especially for performance. You know, like you certainly need strong calf muscles for performance. So you can make them stronger. They just don't necessarily get aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, and there's definitely ways to optimally train them that maybe not everyone does. But in general, like, it seems like if they're lagging behind for you, it's pretty difficult to bring them up.
That's weird. What a weird body part.
Yeah. It's like one of the worst offenders.
Is there anything else like that? Any other body parts that are like notoriously difficult to train?
That's a good question. Probably, there's probably something that I'm not thinking of. I don't know. Neck, maybe? But that's pretty easy to train, actually. It's just not many people do it.
Well, with neck, you got to be careful, though. I use an iron neck, which I really believe in. It's like the only thing that I've ever done that's strengthened my neck and not caused me any neck problems. Whereas I think those other ones, like, you know, those things where you put like the leather helmet on with the chain.
Yeah.
I think that's an unusual movement for your neck. And I think you could probably get away with. I know a lot of wrestlers, and including Mike Tyson, who fucked their neck up from neck bridges.
Have you seen the F1 drivers' workout routines?
No.
Dude, pull up.
Oh, they would have to have crazy necks.
Oh, yeah. That's like what they do for their training mostly, seemingly.
Oh, you have to have
They're just sitting there with like a
neck.
giant fucking contraption on their head, just like.
Like an iron neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like, it seems even more intensive. Like it's, let's see.
Yeah, but see, what I'm saying is they're not bending the neck, right? So what they're doing is they're forcing their muscles to stabilize the neck as they're facing resistance, right?
Yeah.
But what they're not doing is bending all the way down and bending all the way up with weight, which I think is what's unusual. And I think that's just a weird strain on the discs. And with a lot of guys, especially wrestlers, where they get strain from is like someone grabbing them with a collar tie and like pulling their head down, and they get it real low, and then they're resisting that. You can fuck your neck up that way, or fighting off a guillotine or a Darce choke or a triangle where you're like really fucked up and distorted. You're resisting against it. You can fuck your neck up. So what the iron neck does that I really like is you're rotating and you can adjust the resistance on the rotation. So you have this halo, you put it on your head, you pump it like a Reebok pump, and if like form fits to your head, you put a chin strap on, and then you back up. And so it's got a bungee cord, so a very stiff rubber cord, and as you're pulling back, you have a lot of resistance this way, and then you could rotate, and then on the rotation, you can adjust the resistance. You can make it more difficult, but you're never doing any of this stuff. And I think this stuff is where, at least from what I've seen, people get hurt. Especially neck bridges. Neck bridges where your whole body.
Oh, I can imagine.
And you're doing all this and you're rolling. Like Tyson, you ever seen Tyson's neck bridge routine when he was younger?
No.
Well, Tyson had a 20-inch neck.
Yeah.
20 inches. You know how crazy that is? His neck would start at the top of his head. When he was young, I mean, he had a fucking massive neck.
Yeah.
But it's one of the reasons why he was also so good at taking a punch.
Yeah.
Because his head didn't snap around. Like, look at his neck when he was young. That neck is crazy, dude. That's
it's like
a crazy neck.
parallel with his head.
Yeah, like, see, look at it. This is what he would do every day in training.
Holy shit, that looks
Yeah.
so rough.
But this wrestler bridge does strengthen your neck. But at a cost. And I don't think it's at a cost for everybody. I think it probably can be done safely, but I think you probably have to scale up very slowly and very carefully and make sure that you have the supporting tissue and strength around that to not compromise your discs. You know, like when you're in these weird positions, like you're never supposed to have all, you know, at least bridging with like 60% of your weight sideways on your neck like this and then roll it over to the side and then roll it over the side while you're putting all the weight on the back of your head or on your forehead. That's just crazy. That's
yeah. Oh yeah, I would. That looked fucking sketch, dude.
Yeah. Well, Mike had to get neck surgery. Yoel Romero, like I said, had his whole neck fused. His neck doesn't. Ever see him run?
No, but it probably looks hilarious.
See, find the video of Yoel Romero sprinting. It's nuts. His neck doesn't move. It's like this. It's like a robot.
Like a Terminator.
But it's also why Yoel can take crazy punishment. Like Yoel got head kicked once by, I think it was Derek Brunson head kicked him, and he didn't even move. Like, look at him run. So his neck doesn't move. His entire neck is completely fused. And he has this giant scar on the back of his neck. He is a freak, though, dude.
Did you ever get the impression that if he just like threw himself into the fire more in fights, he probably would have won a lot more?
I don't know. I don't know if you can keep that kind of muscle mass and have the kind of cardio that you need to throw yourself into the fire more.
Because it was kind of hard to tell if he was gassed sometimes.
Right.
And then he would all of a sudden burst out.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
that Costa Romero fight is still to this day one of my favorite fights ever. And I don't know, man. Like it almost, a lot of the Romero fights, it seems like if he just started swinging and going in there, that he might be able to take out a lot of dudes that he just let go to decision.
Perhaps, but you have to like know how much gas you have in the tank, and only he knows. And that style that he has is a style for someone who's very explosive. It's very smart because you don't just explode and keep going. You won't last. You last 2 minutes and then you'll be dead.
Yeah.
So what he does is like kind of, he looks like so relaxed, and then he explodes on you. And when he explodes on people, they don't see it coming because he's lulled you into this false sense of security by this slower speed that he moves at. Like, did you ever see his knockout of Chris Weidman?
Probably.
That's the perfect example of that. He caught Chris Weidman with a flying knee as Chris Weidman was coming in for a takedown. He just like lulled him into like, this is the speed we're moving at. We're going to move at this speed. This is how we're fighting. Oh, I'm dodging your punches. Oh, I'm dodging. Ah! And then out of nowhere, bam, he hits him with his flying knee and just destroys his head. I mean, it was one of the most brutal. Watch this. So see how he like moved? Boom!
Oh my god!
Yeah, I mean, literally his whole body. Back it up again so we can see that one more time. Like before it happens. So they're fighting. He's got him on the ground. Oh, so here it is. So you see as he moves, he's not. Boom! He just leaps into him. This is like a highlight thing. It's not showing the whole exchange, but in the fight, you know, Weidman's very aggressive, very tough, and you know, pushing a pace, trying to get the takedowns. Weidman likes to push a strong pace and really wear on guys. And Yoel just would like kind of like move and relax, and then out of nowhere he would just blow on you.
Yeah.
And that's what he did with Adesanya too. Like that was a very boring fight because Adesanya's like, I see your fucking game. I'm gonna stay out here and wait for you to charge in on me. I'm gonna counterattack. And Yoel was like, come on, come fight me. And he's like, I know what you're doing, because he exploded one time and caught Izzy with a left hand, like a powerful left hand. And Izzy's like, oh Jesus Christ. This guy moves so fucking fast when he wants to. But he can't really fight like that for 5 minutes for 5 rounds. You can't really just keep exploding. That's like the problem with a guy like Conor McGregor. Like Conor McGregor was lethal for 1 or 2 rounds. But then you get into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. There's so much fast twitch muscle fiber engagement. There's so much explosion. It's like constant sprinting.
Yeah, has he ever knocked out a guy after round 2 even?
That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, he certainly could, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not out of shape.
I remember what you're saying, though. It was like the later rounds. It was so blatant. He was gassed.
Well, he was so fast in the first couple of rounds. That was the thing. It's like, if he didn't fucking tune you up in those first couple rounds, if you were like Nate Diaz, some indestructible zombie, and then you get into the later rounds and you're fucking tired, like, how is this guy still here? And then Nate is just like slapping you and beating you up, and Nate can push that 50% pace forever.
Yeah.
Him and his brother were very good at that. They didn't really explode. They just would like touch you. They would just touch you all the time. And you can't breathe because you don't have the time to relax, right? So if he's constantly hitting you with punches that aren't that hard, you're like, because you're always like because you don't know if these punches are going to be hard, and then he occasionally would mix them up with like really hard shots. And so you always have to be ready for the hard shot, so you never get to breathe, you never get to relax, so you're constantly on edge, and you're just getting worn out. And he's relaxed because he's just hitting you and touching you, and he's talking shit to you. What, bitch? What, bitch? What's going on, bitch? And he keep hitting you this like 50%, like literally like this, not really trying to hurt you at all, just constantly making you tense up and just drain your gas tank.
No, they seem relentless.
Oh,
sure.
dude. Well, his cardio, Nick Diaz especially, his cardio was insanity. He swam back from Alcatraz. He did it on 5 different occasions. In the ocean with great white sharks, what is it, like a mile and a half or something like that? In the fucking freezing cold Pacific Northwest Ocean?
I don't know, but...
How far is Alcatraz? How far is this swim? They used to think you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
They used to think no one could survive it. So that's why they put Alcatraz there. Like, put a prison out there, they're fucked.
Yeah.
But a couple of guys did escape, and they don't know what happened to them. They found their clothes at the beach, and there's speculation that at least one guy survived it. But how are you going to train? You can't train to swim, and then you're going to just swim for a mile and a half?
Yeah.
You're not going to make it.
I don't know. What's cardio regimens in prison? I would have no idea.
I mean, you could do cardio, but you're not going to recreate swimming without swimming. The resistance, the current, like all of it.
Yeah, and temperature regulation.
Yeah.
All that.
You're just not going to be able to recreate that unless you're doing it, and they're not going to let you practice.
Yeah.
Like, guys, I'm just going to do laps around Alcatraz. Like, get the fuck out of here. How far is it, Jamie? Mile and a half. Jeez. So a mile and a half in the fucking ocean with sharks.
When was this that these prisoners escaped? Like, was this decades ago?
What was that Clint Eastwood movie? Escape from Alcatraz. Did you see it?
No.
Yeah, there's a movie about the actual escape from Alcatraz. These guys had made a paper mache model of their face and like put some pillows and shit and threw a blanket over it. And the guards, when they would go to check, thought these guys were still in their bed. Meanwhile, they had tunneled a hole through the wall of the cell. 1979 film Escape from Alcatraz presented inconclusive conclusions. What does that mean? On one of the island's enduring mysteries, told the true story of 3 men, Frank Morris and the brothers Clarence and John Anglin, who made it out of the prison in June of 1962, were never seen again. Nobody knows for sure whether they made good on their escape or drowned in the attempt. True stories like that and others embellished tales of man-eating sharks and killer currents spread by prison guards as a deterrent contributed to the mythology of unassailable Alcatraz and the impossible swim. Well, it's definitely not impossible because Nick Diaz has done it 5 fucking times. But people do it all the time now. You know, it's like an endurance thing that people constantly do now.
Someone did it 979 times, this guy.
Whoa!
He does it monthly.
Oh my God, what a fucking psycho. 979 times? That is rolling the dice on sharks, bro.
And what happens when you... Like, Alcatraz is... still operating?
No.
No, okay.
No, it wasn't operating.
Oh, it's like a tourist attraction, right?
Yeah, when I was a kid, we went to visit it and with school. When I lived in San Francisco, they took us to Alcatraz. It's like a field trip. It was pretty cool. You get to be in these prisons where all these people used to get. It's very weird.
Why did it shut down?
I don't know. It's a good question. Why did they shut Alcatraz down? Maybe when they figured out people could swim it.
That would be a good reason.
Yeah, I mean...
It's not unassailable.
It's got to take a long time, though. Like, in a mile and a half in the ocean, how long does that take?
Some people think it was because those guys got away, but it was because it was too expensive to continue operating.
That makes sense, right? You got to get all the supplies and out there by boat, by ferry.
I don't even think they had that many prisoners there. Like, you know.
But they had, like, super dangerous ones there, right? Wasn't that the whole idea? It was all murderers. I think it was like a super... maximum security, like for the biggest psychos. They put them on Alcatraz.
Yeah, what was that movie? I think Sean Connery movie as well.
Rock, yeah.
Yeah, that's about that, right?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I think that was about it too. Yeah, but you know, guys who have extreme cardio, like that's a real weapon. Like like power is important it's always important. But cardio is one of the most important things because when you get tired, you don't think right. You don't make good decisions.
They wouldn't be able to handle
it. And then you also
I said, my
you're
life,
just not as effective. You're not gonna.
Most people couldn't handle it?
No, they wouldn't be able to handle it, man. It would have been this something tragic. All right.
Can I ask you to take off the cap? Yes. Please? Thank you. So, Donald, tell me about your life. You grew up where?
I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. And I was born at General Hospital. I grew up in the, what they would call now, the, it's all Spanish neighborhood, Boa Heights area. Mm-hmm. And I lived in Ramona Gardens. And, well, my family then was, actually we come from Mississippi. My dad and my mom came from Mississippi. So when I grew up, I was born out here. So when I grew up, I was living out there in Boa Heights, Ramona Gardens, to be Pacific. And as I was a child growing up, they came to our dad's house and they gave us the word, hey, you guys have to move. Well, what's the problem? Why we have to move? Well, we don't want blacks here anymore. So you have to move. So they came out and beat on the door. And at this time, my dad was drinking heavily, and I would go by and hit their cups that they wasn't paying attention. And that was starting me off as becoming an alcoholic. So, but in the event of that, of me as a kid, seeing all this transpire, I didn't understand. I didn't understand what was, actually going on. But I did understand my mom and dad was scared, So by them being scared, it made us scared. So one night they came by and they knocked on the door, told us, y'all haven't moved yet, man. Y'all the only family still here. So that night we packed up. They made it clear to us. My dad got in the truck and, they packed us up and drove off to our uncle's house. We stayed there. And that didn't last long. I believe as a kid.
The Mexican people in the neighborhood asked you to leave?
From Ramona Garden. Now, mind you, this was back in 1967, 68, or maybe 69.
Yeah, because East LA is now.
East LA is completely, especially that particular housing unit. It's called Ramona Garden, and you will not find one black in there.
Yeah.
Nothing close to black.
Right.
So, with that said, we came, and I felt, as a kid, you just don't understand certain stuff until you get older. So I started drinking more and more, man, sipping from my dad's stuff and my mom's stuff. And then they eventually broke up. And
so they were both drinkers?
Oh, truly, man. Coming from Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi, yes, truly.
And you started taking a sip of what?
I started, when they turn around, because they had parties every Friday. And then when they turn around, I hit the cup, but they wouldn't pay attention. They was already pretty much filled.
What was the drink?
Southern Comfort. I'll never forget that. Sweet and, my God, I can taste it now. But anyway, that was starting me off, man. And from there, once they broke up, like I said, we stayed with my cousins. And that didn't last long, so my dad and my mom departed. And I ended up with one of my cousins for a while. And then, about me drinking and not being totally focused and kind of a bad guy from what I've seen so far in my life, I started getting into trouble, man, And this is about the age of maybe 10, 11. Because I was frustrated. I was angry. I didn't have a family no more, man. So, we was taken from I ran away, actually. I ran away, man. And I ended up in foster homes. And, wow, you talking about a terrible life. But anyway, some was good. Some of the people was good we stayed with. Some was not. But at the same time, you could feel their energy, man. You knew that they were bad people. And so at the time, I ran away again from that place, and I was a constant runaway because of I couldn't get my point across. Nobody understood me, man. And at that time, I was molested as a kid, man. So,
when did that happen?
Oh man, right there when I was standing in the Ramona Garden, it was by one of my family members, man. He rests in peace now. He's dead. So, man. So anyway, as I became older, man, I'm starting to understand that, there's something better out there for me. I know it's a better life. And I just was wow, son of a gun. Excuse me, sir. Oh boy, so I was getting in trouble, and then they put me in a foster home, and from there, I got a little better basic understanding of going to school. Matter of fact, the foster home they put me in was off of Exposition in Normandy. Actually, the street was called 38th Place, and by me staying there, that foster home, there was a little more family atmosphere for me. You know, they brought me in, they made me feel like wanted. And for some reason, they paid special attention to me, man. So from there, I still was drinking now, don't get me wrong, they drank too. And I was happy about that. And the guy made his own wine. Actually, the people I stayed with was named the Clara Smith. Clara, and Kurt. I stayed in their family, and they were from Akron, Ohio, man. And the guy, he made home brew, and I thought I was in heaven. Wow, boy, you talking about learning some stuff. And once I learned that, man, it was over with. But they gave me a structured life. They helped me out with reading. I couldn't read or write at the age of 12 or 14. I couldn't, man. So they gave me a pretty structured life, man. It made me feel good about myself. And I went to school and tried to do the best I could. And I didn't realize I had issues, man. I didn't realize that seeing my family grow up and what I went through would affect me in a different way. So I stayed there for about 2 years and became a semi-adult. And I started hanging with the guys on the street. Wow, what did I do that for? And the neighborhood is called Fruitown, Brims, whatever they call it, but they were trying to recruit me as a young brother. I wasn't going for that. That wasn't part of my life. So at the same time, they told me a lot of things because I was a square. You ever know what a square is? Man, well, listen, I didn't know nothing, but when I got with these guys, they told me how to dress. I went to Fauché. I graduated from Fauché by the hair of a fingernail. They was very proud of me. Man, so after I graduated, I went to high school, which is called Manual Arts High. I became a wrestler. I tried to play football, was not good at that at all. And so I ended up with wrestling, and I did good with that for a minute till I got pinched too many times. And Coach Lake, he was Coach Lake, you know, he was a white guy, he was a good guy, he taught me a lot of stuff, but he got mad at me and told me, look, Don, if you can't be a little more tougher on the floor mat there with the guys, man, you need to just find something else to do. So I said, Coach Lake, serious? He said, yeah, man, you didn't pretty much lost every match, man. I couldn't bring the team no points. So make a long story short, I gave that up and started taking it from the liquor stores, gambling, and thought I was a street guy, smart guy, trying to create stuff my way, do things my way. I got tired of everybody else telling me their way. So I tried my way and ended up in little jails and so forth and so on. And so when I came back home from a juvenile hall, when they put me back in the same foster home, I was out of there before the night ended. Before the night, dark came out, I was gone again. And started living in the streets. I started living in the streets and making my own way, man, the best I could, and bummed and begged, and so I ended up in prison for a little while. We'll talk about that later, but it helped me find myself. And then when I came back home, I still was drinking, but I made prison. But see, by the people I stayed with, they taught me how to make homebrew. And so all the fruits and the presentation, I had that. I was the man. I was making the Pruno, the wine, and these guys, I was, there was somebody there. So after a while, I got busted a couple times doing that in prison. They locked me up, put me in the ASIG. And so by that time, my date came up and I was released. And I came out here and got me a big bottle of Southern Comfort. And man, it was on after that. Found myself homeless. I don't speak with my family no more because I went by there and I seen it was a family reunion, excuse me. It was a family reunion. And one of my cousins came up to me and, we was people all around and said, hey man, what about you, man? He said, well, I said, what do you mean? He said, man, don't you remember your brother fucked you? I said, what the fuck? You was there. And so I I lost it. I went completely berserk and I tried to hurt him, but I still stay at their house. Dumbest move in the world. So, in reality, see these burns here? See all these burns here? These burns come from them set me on fire. These are burns that actually came from my family member, you guys. And they played a dirty trick on me, and how they got me was, I'm a good cook, you guys. I'm a very good cook, and I was barbecuing, and I was getting high. That morning I was drinking, and I was getting high also with some stuff I was trying. And they asked me, hey man, why don't you barbecue? And I said, okay, I didn't think nothing of it, but I was, they see me intoxicated, so little did I know, they took the lighter fluid out the lighter bottle and put it in kerosene. Now, knowing you, kerosene is a very inflammatory liquid, man. I had no idea at the time that that's what it was. Put the fire on the coals, put the stuff on the grill, and I went to, I had the fire pre-lit. I poured the lighter fluid on it, and it came back, poof, and the fire followed it from the pit to all the way to the can I was holding. And by that time, Father God, thank you, Lord. You could see the ignition from the spark. And only way my face is not burnt up totally, and the reason why I don't look like Spawn is because the Holy Spirit told me to cover my face. See this here? If I didn't do that, this would have been burnt totally. All this here would have been burnt to look just like this here. And my family members did this to me, man. So, and as I laid in the hospital and woke up from this horrible situation, the Holy Spirit was with me the whole time, man. I didn't make a sound. When the explosion happened, I didn't make a sound. I didn't holler, I didn't cry, I just rolled, rolled, and my cousin's girlfriend came out and see me on fire and just started crying and took a gallon of water that she had in the refrigerator and poured it on me. Then the ambulance pulled up, and all this time I'm wondering what my family had. They just was right here. They all on the side filming the whole incident. Literally taking pictures of video cameras and filming me on fire. I had to tell the ambulance man to, sir, can we leave? You see I'm on fire. You see them third, fourth degree burns. You gonna let them continue to do this video, man, or you gonna take me to the emergency? So once I got that out, they drove off, and then from there, they took me to the wrong hospital. Ooh, and by that time, I had blacked out. By that time, I blacked out totally. I woke up with them sticking tubes and stuff in my body and telling me, mister, you gonna be all right. And I was in intensive care for about maybe 3 weeks, maybe 2 months. I don't know actually the time, but I know when I got out of there, I had a birthday. So, and that was the first time, actually, that I had a time to sit back and analyze my life, to realize what I was here for. And then once I did that, man, glory to God. I went back and apologized to a lot of people that I wronged, because by me being an alcoholic, you don't realize what you do to people and what you say to them. I heard a lot of people. Man. So with that said, I made a video to my kids and my family, man, and I apologized to them. I apologized and forgave them all, man. And that kept me strong. If I would have still been harboring these feelings, I don't know what I would have did, man. I don't know what I would be. But I know one thing I did do I came and I went to him as a man, and I apologized to each and every person that I thought I wronged. If at that point there was a awakening that came upon me to help me realize that my drinking had to, was causing me things that I didn't realize, y'all. I didn't understand. Being in the drunken haze every day, every morning, every night, waking up pissing on myself, urinating on myself, don't know where I'm at. Oh, man. The Holy Spirit came to me while I was in the hospital and told me to forgive him. And that But I forgave him. I forgave him in my heart, and sometimes it comes back, and I think about it, true enough, but I had to forgive him and to have me a life, to be a better person myself. And in doing that, I still drink, yes, I drink heavily still. I haven't got rid of that yet, but I'm working on it. But at the same time, I learned that when you're under the influence of alcohol and you dealing with life issues, man, that you don't receive it the way it's supposed to be received. And I was a very outspoken, angry person, man. And I learned from that incident that family can be your worst enemy sometimes. Family can be your worst enemy, man. And they play the part like they want to see you do better. But most of them want to see you stuck in the same rut that you've been in.
Were there things about your personality back then that made these things, made your family react like this?
I was bitter. I was angry because of the fact that I was raised in a foster home. My mom and dad just broke up. And I was angry that I never had what I considered a normal childhood. And it made me lash out, say things that was not to be said. It made me be a person that just didn't care about nobody else's feelings. Just made me share my feelings, and then your feelings didn't matter. But now that I'm looking back at it and I see the whole situation and I see the person that I was, I changed me to a degree that I feel better about myself. I could have easily went back and served my cousin and did something foul and wild and been on the news, but the Holy Spirit said, this battle is mine, Mr. Butler. You let it go. You let it go, and let me deal with your family. And that gave me a peace, a comfort, awakening to go back to them and apologize as a man and tell them straight to their face, yeah, you tried. You guys really tried, man, but you know what? God got another plan for me. God got another plan for me in my life, man. So I'm letting all y'all know, I forgive all y'all, man, for whatever reason you had, whatever caused you to do that to me, but I forgive all y'all. And I really don't speak to them as much as I should, but it's just something I'm dealing with still. I can say it in my heart, but it's still in my mind. I can say it in my heart that I forgive and all that stuff, but you have times in your life where it comes back up and you have to deal with it. And what I do, my way of dealing with it, go grab me a bottle, man. Drink it away.
So you're still drinking?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah.
How much?
Oh, maybe it's... most time I can't afford a bottle of Southern Comfort. So I'll get some cheap wine and something of that nature to get me to where I need to be. But at least about $60 a day, easy. Definitely, yeah.
Does that lead to a blackout?
That's many a time. But at the same time, when I drink, I try to be, an alcoholic is an alcoholic. Don't care how you put it, don't care how you want to say it, but I'm an alcoholic, and I try many things, many ways and many things to find a way to convince myself that I'm not. What was your question again? You said something to me.
No, just
You said, am I still alcohol dead? Yes, I am.
yeah. So you're blacking out?
Not as much as I used to because I was drinking a lot of Southern Comfort, but I still have the tendency to black out on a regular basis. Yes, sir.
And where are you living now?
Downtown on 5th and right in front of the Mission. Right there in front of the Mission.
Do you get your room?
Yeah, Skid Row, where they tell us to move. They tell us to move from time to time and so they can clean the area up.
Oh, so you're on the street?
Correct.
In a tent or?
A tent, yes, sir.
It's got to be a rough life.
Oh, man, it's been a rough life. Anything else after this got to be better. That's my outlook and my philosophy. Anything after this has got to be better. You feel me? The only way it can get worse is we can end up in the war. I've been in the war with myself for years. You hear me? I've been in the war with myself for years.
How old are you?
61. 61. And the reason why I look like I'm presentable today is because I went to the Mission and they have a cleaned up area for you. Take a shower and they give you some pretty good clothes to help you get out the funky ones and make it feel like you're brand new again.
These are some donated clothes.
Correct, mundo.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's why the Skid Row community is so well dressed.
Yeah, they got some real nice stuff down there for you.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to come, but they make people look real nice and feel better about themselves and their life.
And you have kids?
I have 2, yes.
You raised them?
It's saying the cycle was continue, man. My mom, me and the baby moms, we still close as ever, but no, I never got a chance to raise them because I did do some staying incarcerated, and I made one while I was in jail, doing some time. So I was married in jail. And that's the only way that woman would stay with me. It was when I'm sober.
How long were you in prison?
Oh, I did 20 years actually. I ended up doing 20 years.
What's that for?
It's come from me living angry from the kid life I had. Angry, didn't know myself, didn't understand myself, didn't care about nobody else, and a selfish person, man. I was a selfish, angry person. And mind you, this is back when cocaine first came out. And I was I was a person that was moving. I was a driver, put that way, for some of the guys. So money was an issue back then, you know. And I got caught up from that and went to some other stuff. But we'll talk about that later. Let's talk about the alcohol.
And have you ever tried to get clean?
I was in the program. They put me, can you believe it? They put me in, what's the name of that place? Wine Garden. Mm-hmm. Do you believe when the pandemic came around, I was so frustrated and needed to drink so bad I left the place, walked out, literally walked out, came back sloppy drunk, thought I can get in, little key thing to give you the ID picture to get you in the door was cut off. Hey, Mr. Bullock, you thought you were going to misuse the program, huh? No, I did. But Wine Garden, you know what I'm saying? Once I couldn't get back in, it was over. My hope was gone. So I'm back on the streets, man.
Hope's a big part of it all, isn't it?
Hope is the only thing I got left, sir. Hope and believing in my Lord Jesus Christ. That's the only thing I got left that's keeping me afloat. And my kids, when they, you know what I'm saying, get a chance to talk to them.
What's been your lowest point?
Having to go sit in the county jail, knowing that my kids is I'm not with them. Because the same thing my family did to me, I did to my kids. And I don't feel good about that.
20 years is a lot of time.
Truly.
What was that for?
Excuse me?
What was that for?
Oh, dope dealing and kidnapping and all that kind of stuff. And being the smart guy I thought I was. And kidnapping, there was a kidnapping involved, burglary, robbery. And held a person hostage for the ransom.
Being able to forgive your family was
the biggest thing that made me feel better.
Takes a big man to do that.
It took a lot. I'm still not over it completely, but I'm able to function to the degree where I can, you know what I'm saying, have a pretty good life. But yeah, it hurts, man. It hurts terribly. And to be a failure to your kids, come on, man. Wow. To be a failure to the kids, but my kids love me. They know that I've been, even when I was in prison, I sent them money. I did the best I could. And they know this.
Is alcohol your biggest problem, you think?
Yes, it is. It's the only thing I get a yearning urge for. It's, oh man, I get the shakes when I don't have one. Oh, buddies. But it's something I'm working with still, something I'm dealing with, and I'm asking the Lord to give me the strength to overcome it. Without him, I'm nothing, man. Without him, I'm nothing.
They're giving housing to a lot of people. If you had housing, you had...
Karen Bass, I had a chance to see her, and I missed her for this second.
But if you had a roof over your head, do you think the stability that would provide would...
Without a doubt.
Help you?
Without a doubt. I think it'd help me get back into the realization of life, man. To you know what I'm saying? I've been going something. It's been so many, man. It's been so many times I wake up smell like urine and piss, man. That it's over for that, man. I need a new. It's time for me to change. It's really time for me to change, man. I'm 61 years old. I'm just starting my second half of my life, man. And I need to start it on a better vantage point.
What's your biggest regret?
My biggest regret, man, is my kids not being a father that I'm supposed to be to them. That's my biggest regret. Not giving them the stability and the encouragement and the tools they need in life. I never got them, so I'm gonna pass them around. If I never got that from my family, how can I have the ability to give it to my kids? But I'm working on that. I'm still a man. I'm working on that, and I ask my kids today to forgive me. You know who you are, sons. Y'all, my heart and soul. I'm asking y'all to forgive me today, man. Give me another chance to show you that I can be a better man and a better parent. I know time has passed, man. Y'all grown now, so just asking you to forgive me, man. Just give me another chance, y'all. If you don't have the right tools to build a house, I don't think you can build it, man. If you ain't got the right tools to be a parent, man, I don't think you can be. But all the kids want is just to be around their parents, man. That's all I ever wanted, just to wake up with them to say breakfast time. Come eat, son. Go to bed. Go do this. You know, do your house chores, man. You would never believe that the person in my life, I really miss that kind of stuff, man. But I'm doing the best I can with what was given to me, and it was given to me for a reason, and I'm still trying to figure that reason out.
All right, Donald, thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I wish you lots of luck from here on out.
Oh, man, it's gonna get better from this point on. They say speaking it out is therapy, releasing it. Because if you keep it in, man, it'll turn you to an ugly monster.
Yeah, that's what I believe.
Thank you, Mark, man. It's been an honor and a pleasure to be able to tell my story to you guys.
Thank you, John.
Thank you for having me.
Even though Soft White Underbelly consists of a lot of videos, it's really still a photography project to me. And if you appreciate the photography, sometimes it's difficult to enjoy it when it's scrolling down the screen, which is the only option I had in this horizontal format on YouTube. So last year we came out with the first Soft White Underbelly book, which is a collection of the best portraits from the thousands of interviews I've done. Each portrait in this book is accompanied by an interesting quote from the person's interview.
Oh my God.
There's more.
Wow. These aren't as bad as I thought. I look like a witch.
I will not be reprinting this book when it sells out. So once it's gone for good. You can order yours at softwhiteunderbelly.org.
It's too far away.